Alright, 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 alright. Oh my goodness. Let me go ahead and disable the pics. Welcome, 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 welcome. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm saying this, but welcome to, I don't know what to say this, to one of not very first, but one that I hardly will ever do if it comes to it, depending on the demand it gets, to an audio story. Now these are random stories containing a fan fiction to any other series, depending on what the TV show or movie presents, but I don't know if I'm going to do this again, so if I do get a lot of thumbs up and requests in the comments, I probably will end up looking into it. But this is my very first time doing one of these. It's not me that's going to be narrating this story, just so y'all know if you look at the description. However, I am proud to say that this is my very first time putting this on YouTube, because this for sure is something I do want to share towards everybody who watch these TV shows. If you haven't seen them, stop this video right now and watch those TV shows, because you don't want to be spoiled, because these will have spoilers. So what I'm going to be presenting here is probably in the description, if you could see right here. Let me go ahead and put it up. So this right here is basically a website. If you haven't looked at this website, this is where I got the story from, so I'll also put that in the description. And basically this website is basically like the whole entire chapters of what, if you want to follow along while the audio is playing with the story that I'm about to review. So let's not further wait. Again, hope you guys are gonna enjoy this one. This one's really good, and I'll give it a good thumbs up. And that's about all I have to say. Enjoy it. And this again is written by Slayer, a Night Slayer 04, and it's gonna be narrated by the Microsoft Narrator app. So that's all I have to say, and hope you like this. Enjoy.
Chapter 1: The Transferees. Youth. This word has been the epitome of my very hatred towards expressing myself to others. My experience in middle school has been nothing but full of experiences that makes me who I am today. At least that's what I thought about a year ago. Subu High School. In this school for about a year is where I was changed slowly but surely for the better. I owe it to Hiratsuka-sensei for helping me change along with my time in the service club. This club deals with using our intellect and manual labor to extend a hand to those that asks for help. In this club also resides the school's resident ice queen Yuki Nashida Yukino and my former classmate Uegahama Yui. Although our relationship has been different from about half a year ago, this experiences that we three shared are invaluable to each of us, especially for Yuki Nashida. Higea-kun, I love you. In that moment my romantic comedy is proven to be wrong. Up to today, where I sit in the side of windows to the corridors, I think of ways to improve myself in expressing my thoughts, my feelings to others. As I stated before to myself, people will not always understand what you say even if you tell it to them, and trying to read the other person's mid is just hypocritical to oneself. But in some this can be expressed through actions. The warmth of our touch when I tried to convey what I feel that day was the very example of what I am saying. In just a few minutes of thinking in my chair, I missed the entrance of our teacher, seemingly have brought a news to us only 3 days after the opening of the school year. The noises of students and chairs seemingly have shifted to only our teacher's announcement. You have a new classmate from today. Please come in and introduce yourself in front. The student enters the classroom with roughly the same height as me, drowsy-looking eyes fixated to look into the abyss, long hair that doesn't extend to his shoulders, accompanied by our standard uniform, Hajime Mashite, my name is Oreki Hutara. I came from Kamiyama High School. A pleasure to meet you all. The greeting of the new student. After the introduction he was instructed to occupy a nearby vacant chair, and by nearby that is behind me, just 2 chairs away. The class period seems to have passed by in a blink. It was already lunchtime as students cram their way to the canteen or into their favorite spots in the campus. I was of course no exception to this, but today was a little different than usual. That is because I was invited over by my sister and the president of the service club Komaki into the club room, and by Yuki Nashida as well. I suspected also that Uegahama will also be there, since her desire to close in on the gap that is there between us 3. I arrived at the club room with a can of Max coffee in my hands as I slid open the door and saw that all the people that is supposed to be inside. Well, at least that is my expectation, but inside I found that was another person that is supposed to be not in there. Senpai, you're slow. Why are you here? I scowled at Ishaiki Iroha back, but she just shrugged it off with a clumsy look in her face while sticking out her tongue. After that I noticed the shy look onto Yuki Nashita's face, as well as a cheerful greeting from Uegahama that I hear from her every time. Hiki ya hello. Gee, good afternoon Hakigaya-kun. I only nodded and made a grudge sound on the door, but then I replied back to them, oh good afternoon. I quickly moved my way towards my new designated seat nearby Uegahama and Yuki Nashida. This new arrangement of ours feels all new, different for me, since I was used to seat in the other end of the table facing on the left of Yuki Nashida. As I taken my seat, Uegahama and Komaki pulled out a bag containing boxed lunch. Suddenly I noticed a nervous and shy Yuki Nashida Yukino beside me while holding a what seems to be a 2-part boxed lunch. I see, as my thoughts suddenly taken into words of curiosity for her flustered face. Uegahama seems to have taken notice but only giggled, looking at us both, prompting the attention of Komaki and Ishaiki to look at us both. What's wrong? Yeah. And nothing. Oni-chan, Yuki Nashida-san has made you a boxed lunch. In that instant my face warmed up with having a surprised expression of what my brain just tries to process just now. That also prompted the now reddened Yuki Nashida to place the made boxed lunch on the table, shaking. I just want to try making something different for a change. Her trailing voice prompted me to look at her back and forth to the lunch before us while thinking of the day that Komaki asked me if I wanted a boxed lunch and what would I like to have on it. So that is why Komaki asked me about that, then straight up dodging a straight bullet of intellect from me. Anyway, I want you to eat what I just made and tell me how it is. Sounded by a sheepish Yuki Nashida. I only nodded, and then everyone clapped their hands and said itadakame su. Halfway through eating the lunch that was prepared amazingly by Yuki Nashida, Komaki seemed to remember something and stated, that's right. Oni-chan, I heard rumors of a new transfer student in the science division that is a new stunning beauty in the school. Before I could give my reply, I sensed the cold glare of both Uegahama and Yuki Nashida seemingly awaiting my thoughts. In that moment I remembered, now that you mentioned it, my class also has a new transfer student from Kamiyama High School. Yuki Nashida followed it. I also believe that the one Komaki is referring is from the same school. This piqued my curiosity as to who are these 2 persons supposed to be, when Uegahama added, from what my class is talking. It seems that both the students placed a high grade on their transfer exam in their respective field. This only raised the bar of my expectation as to who these persons really are, when suddenly the door was knocked 4 times. The 5 of us exchanged glances of surprise as we weren't expecting any visitors while eating. Nonetheless, the door was knocked 3 times, this time differently, knowing that there are people inside the room. Come in, stated by the now straight up Yuki Nashida. After a while the door opened with 2 persons, a girl and a familiar boy, slowly entering the room, examining it roughly. In my mind I knew who the boy is, and as an instinct of mine I let out these words. You are Oreki Hutaru, am I right? Chapter 2, New Recruits. Hutara's perspective. In that moment a flash of memories suddenly came over me. Remembering the first time that Chitanda and I have met in the club room in Kamiyama. How strong this person's memory is. Is he like Chitenda, another curious monger? I was only snapped back at my thought when I felt a slight tug at my cuffs, and there I sense a cold stare coming from one of the other person in the club room. Hakumen's perspective. Oreki Hutara. This man with the drowsy eyes appeared before us with what I suppose is his girlfriend or whatever. I was surprised by the sudden interruption in our lunch by these two. I assume you are both the transfer students from another school? Yuki Nashida inquired. Yes. My name is Chitenda Eru and this is my friend Hutara Oreki-san, answered by the girl that first entered the room. What service can we be of here today at this moment? Shot back by the Ice Queen, looking at them both with her usual sharp glare. Yes. We would like to join the service club. Suddenly the whole room was filled with a silence while glancing back and forth from the past president of the club to the present president. Komaki held a bizarre look on her eyes with her mouth agape as expecting the arrival of new club members. Welcome, welcome. Please have a seat, then let's talk together. This prompted Uegahama to move a bit sideways, followed by Yuki Nashida and me, forming what seems to be a judging pose for us five with our visitors in our front. Komaki, you know something, don't you? I questioned her. Hiratsuka-sensei had inquired me just a few moments before going here that we might get a new recruit for our club. Somehow I didn't expected her to suddenly be the one to bring this message to us, Yuki Nashida stated while holding her temple with her hands. We got our paperworks to be done by Hiratsuka-sensei. In the files sent to us by her, she stated that we should inquire with getting in touch of the service club and joining it. Returned by Chitenda. In this moment we chattered a bit with what does the club does after being inquired by Chitenda whilst her eyes sparkled and saying I'm curious. In about 10 minutes the visitors that we've had now with the club registration form in their hands went out, seemingly going to have their lunch now. When we are left in the room we resumed our usual and casual eating when Yuki Nashida asked me how was the lunch she made for me. Hutara's perspective. I can't believe I was coaxed again into joining another club. Darn it, Aniki. I thought to myself while walking with Chitenda towards the service club room. After taking hold of the registration form, Chitenda actually fulfilled her promise to have a lunch with me, thinking only as that was another of Aniki's pranks on me. But deep down in me I sense a different bubbling feeling that I couldn't explain when I am with this girl. Soon we found our way to an empty space in the campus where the breeze seems to be blowing differently inside of the practicing tennis club in the court. I was distressed in what they seemed to be wasting their energy in this moment where they should be replenishing their body with foods. I was broken out in my thought when Chitenda inquired me of what was in my mind. Are you okay, Oreki-kun? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm so sorry for dragging you to a club. No, it's fine, I guess it is better that way for me to come with you to that club anyway, I said while slightly blushing and minding only the food that she brought with her today. It will be fine, Oreki-san. Whilst gleefully smiling at me that seems to be enjoying the company of each other. Hakumen's perspective. Hakigaya-kun, she called out to me shyly. Oh, I couldn't muster a decent reply as I was shocked to see her here. Usually we would see face to face in the club room and outside the campus only. What's up? Oh, it was already time to go home. Most of the students in my class started to move out of the classroom, including the captain of the soccer club, Hayama Hayato. Those people have two possible choices: either they are going to a club or they are going to hang out with their friends. Whilst I was getting up I noticed that Oreki Hutara has already gone ahead and left the room. I made my way to the club room when I noticed the slender figure that seems to be waiting for me. Hakigaya-kun, she called out to me shyly. Oh, I couldn't muster a decent reply as I was shocked to see her here. Usually we would see face to face in the club room and outside the campus only. What's up? Let's walk to the club room together, she replied with all her courage she can muster. I sense that she is trying to change more, to convey her feelings to without running away or hiding behind a facade. For once I was flustered to her words and I nodded back, staring at her most of the time we are walking to the club room. When she sensed my stare at her, she asked without looking back at me, blushing, "Why are you staring at me, Hyouka-kun?" Sorry. It's fine. I guess. She followed weakly. Our slow pace got us to the club room front door. When we entered, Iroha and Yuigahama are the ones only inside. "Senpai, get this, I heard from the student council that the boy that seen earlier had an impressive score in the logical part of the test in transferring here. You didn't even bother to name him, right?" I thought to myself. And then Secretary Chan said that boy has an impressive deduction skill just by having different evidence and clues to himself, she added in her statement. I was then surprised by this news while walking to our designated seats. Yuigahama then followed. "I heard that they are transferring here to prepare for college examinations to Tokyo or Chiba. Chitanda-san is said to hold a powerful name in Kamiyama and she is expected to inherit her family business." They kept exchanging informations for about 3 minutes when the door slid open. "Hey, we got a job," cheerfully exclaimed by Komaka with Oraki and Chitanda-san entering the room. I was asked by teacher to look into the mystery of the missing chemical in the chemistry room. It's surprising that a chemical was taken without anyone noticing. "Does anybody have a clue as to who may have taken?" inquired by Yuigahama. "Unfortunately no. We are conducting our first experiment on chemistry room when after the class our teacher asked me about it. From what I could tell it occurred during our time since the teacher seems to have no problem in the other class he handled today." After that I noticed Oraki holding his bangs while his arms rested in hand wrapped in between his stomach and chest. "What is it, Oraki-san?" I inquired when suddenly you figured out something, Oraki-san, already? Asked with a curious look on her face Chitanda-san, maybe with his gaze fixated on the table in front of him. Chapter 3 Assumptive Abilities. Is this guy for real? I thought for myself. But I get this weird vibes from the guy, even if for just a second that he placed his hand on his hair. Suddenly I was broken out of my trance by Yuki Nashida. "Can you kindly explain it for us? It will be faster if we just go to the room in question," replied by the transferee. From that moment we all started to move to the chemistry room. I'm still wondering how did he manage to get an answer with just knowing the story? Utara's perspective. I think I just did something on a mere impulse. Although sooner rather than later Chitanda will inquire of me this incident annoyingly. This way I get to preserve some of my energy to continue on until later. But the feeling bubbling inside of me is much stronger than before. What could it be? Why am I feeling this way? I noticed that my companion stopped in front of what appears to be chemistry room. I was right. I thought for myself. "President, can you please take a peek at the drawer on the fourth table of the room from the right side of ours?" "Huh? Oh, okay," replied by the smallest member of our group. "Humo. It's here." Amazing. While she shows us the missing chemical, being surprised and being cute while doing so. I guess my hunch was right all along. The moment I passed on this room I noticed some chemicals being set down on the ground momentarily. But even so, no student would be willing to take home a dangerous substance outside without being noticed, since all bags are left in their homeroom means that it has to be around here somewhere. While the president returns the chemical into the safe room in the backside, I was tugged by Chitanda in the ends of my blazer. "How did you figure it out, Oraki-san?" All the while her eyes are sparkling with her face coming close to mine. I blushed ever so slightly while being pushed back on the door of the room. I heard a subtle giggle on the both side facing me and saw two curious look on the couple before us. I passed by earlier this room going to the restroom that I know. I managed to take a peek inside and noticed some chemicals being settled down on the floor. This school has a rather high regard for things that can't be brought outside, so my only suspicion was that the chemical was inside here somewhere, being forgotten to be returned when the class was over. I see. That prospect is quite possible in a sense that no student would be stupid enough to take a chemical back home. Replied by Yuki Nashida, followed with, I guess the rumors about your deductive abilities are true. I already have a rumor despite being half a day, so I guess that is resolved. We returned to the club room with Hachiman, Yuki Nashida and Uegahama, while Komaka went to the faculty office with his Hyouka. When we arrived at the room, pulled out a chair and take our places inside. Chitanda and I sat on the opposite facing Yuki Nashida and Hachiman respectively. The four of us took out a book or something that we read normally while Uegahama fiddled with her phone while fixing her hair that looked like a bun. Hachiman's perspective. The room has quite an aura now that it was silent. The only noise that can be heard is the flipping of the pages of the book and some inputs on the phone Uegahama is using. This silence would continue for 5 minutes until, oh right, I brought some cookies. Please just help yourselves and don't be shy about it. While opening a small box and settled it before us, the three of us nodded and helped ourselves with some. I noticed the craftsmanship done on the shape of cookies while savoring the sweet taste with a balance of tangent taste on with seemingly mixed with a citrus flavoring. While continuing on, Yuki Nashida offered us a tea and poured some on our cups. I'm curious to know, why is Komaka-chan our club president? Asked by Chitanda facing us. You got some problem with that? While my face tensed with a wry look being noticed by Yuki Nashida and Uegahama with the look seemingly surprised by my expression. Why do you ask, Chitanda-san inquired by Uegahama. I just noticed that Komaka-chan is too young while the members are all older. Komaka-chan is the sister of Hiki. Hi Hiki, asked by Chitanda, tilting her head slightly on the side, not knowing it was me Uegahama was referring to. Oh. That is surprising, replied by Hutara. Got a problem too? My face seems to voice out when Yuki Nashida noticed my siscom coming out and quickly interjected, normally that will still be my job. While trailing weekly, that was a few months ago when the club was disbanded after the prom job, but it was reformed again a few days back and she was the one who brought it back, now giving a smile that seems to melt any ice with its warmth. But she was just only first year only. She gave back a more curious look on her face. The same was for you in the classics club, Chitanda, without looking away from what he was reading, replied by the stern man. Oh. The three of us released a surprised look that surpasses the look on her face when the matter was brought up. You are so cool, Chitanda-san, while excitedly standing up looking at her. It's not a big deal, he. Embarrassingly returned by the former president of Classics Club. Chitanda and Uegahama continued to talk about the club's past activities as well as some of the school history with the accomplishment of the so-called anthology series Hyouka. Time went by fast. When we noticed the time, it was already time to go home. We packed our things and started to move towards the front gate. I went to the bike parking area, released the lock on my bike and pushed it towards the front gate when I noticed a red sports car, familiar to my sight, passed by me fast and drove far away when I reached the front gate. I gave no heed and just gave a reassuring warm smile on my face that is noticed by Yuki Nashida of all person. Something happened, Hakigaya-kun. Nothing much, looking at them with the smile printed on my face. Alright Hakigaya-kun, can you accompany me to my apartment? There is something I want to do. Oh sure. Komaka, will you be fine walking back home? Your bike is still not bought, so I'm worried. I will be fine, Unai-chan. You better go with Yuki Nashida-san, she just might reward you with something. With a smug look on her face, seems to be teasing both of us, with Uegahama giving a weak smile and a Yuki Nashida that seems to be flustered with a sudden thought from the words by Komaka. Komaka-kun, she jerked back the words with Chitanda giggling with his Hyouka and Komaka. Imuto, don't make it sound like I'm going to do something weird with her. You are the only one that thinks that badly, Unai-chan. She replied in her usual tone of self-appreciation to her brother with a dead fish eyes. Speaking of eyes, I noticed Hutara to be restless in our talks to each other, not being able to give back a reply or a word with us. Let's go now, Yuki Nashida. Yes, let's go. With this we went our ways and Yuki Nashida and I moved towards her apartment, surprisingly with Houtara and Chitanda moving with us. You guys live nearby this area? Yes, although we will went a different street soon. I live in the apartment while Oreki-san lives with her sister. Replied to me by Chitanda. Ah, Oreki-san. Oto-san will be sending us some things to help us study soon. Can you give me hand when they arrive? Chitanda seems to remember words of his father. Grunted by Houtaro with a nod while we continued to walk towards our destination. Upon reaching an intersection in the station, Houtaro departed with us, seems to go and buy some things before going to his home. Upon reaching Yuki Nashida's apartment, Chitanda seems to enter the other building of the Twin Rise apartment. Yuki Nashida-san, you live here also? Yes. She replied differently, seems to be surprised also. Chitanda whispered something to herself that didn't seem to be audible to us both. We bid her a goodbye while going to the apartment. Upon reaching Yuki Nashida's apartment, she asked me to wait in the living room while she takes something in her bedroom. When she got out, that took a little bit of 10 minutes. She sported a blue cardigan with the leggings on her above knee long skirt. As I looked at her attire, I can't help but feel enchanted by her beauty, leaving me blushing and practically speechless. Do I look weird?" she asked sheepishly and weirdly. "And no. You'll look rather beautiful." I managed to get my feelings out while stuttering, trying my hardest to compliment her look. She gives out a sigh of relief and gave me a heartwarming smile that I wished I managed to take a picture on. Don't worry Hachimon, it is now saved on my memories. I will never forget this. As I continue to look at her, she motioned me to go to the entrance, suggesting me to go somewhere with her while giving me a small bag that contains some notebooks that seem to be from her first year. "Please give this to Komaka-chan. I'm sure she could use this well for her studies." Chapter 4. What do I think? We wandered this same mall near her apartment before. First was when we looked for a gift for Yuagahama's birthday, followed by many events with Tatsuka Zamokusa and Komaka. This time it was only us again. Yuki Nashida and I moved towards the first bookstore. While walking towards here, I was inquired by Yuki Nashida that she wants me to help her look for a book that she haven't read to cope up more with her studies. Being in the International Liberal Arts class was big deal for our school. It holds some of the smartest students in campus, being mostly with girls that fill the room. Yuki Nashida was part of this class. While I was scanning the shelves for some book that she could read to enhance her liberal arts studies, she suddenly asked me a question. What do you think of the new Transferees Hyouka-kun? I was suddenly taken aback by what she asked. It's not like she was worried about what others people seems to be, including their looks and their status. I think they are both fine. I replied back with prickles in my skin. It was certainly very unusual for us to receive those kind of transferees. Especially from what they say in campus, it seems they were the big deal, able to surpass Yumiko Miura and Hayama Hayato. I'm sure they will all move back to the campus originals in just a few days. Suddenly she shook her head and nervously asked. Then how about Chitanda-san? What do you think of her? I could only gruff out this sound as I was surprised even more when she asked me this. I honestly didn't have a good reply in the moment. It's as if I was being interrogated in a courtroom, not letting me to give out an excuse. Well, she is cute. But not as cute as Komaki and Dayan. I felt my cheeks burn up suddenly. I was surprised that I managed to give out my honest thoughts just like that. It shows how we have grown being together all this time. She tried her hardest to hide her pinkish cheeks from me to no avail, taking a book out from the shelf, hiding behind her face, looking critically hit, replying WWHW, what are you saying? Hi H Fishigaya-kun. You really have a way with your words, Yukipdia-san. We schemed towards the shelves once again, beat red from our replies to each other. When we are done, we paid the book that Yuki Nashida took from the shelf earlier and moved to the other bookstore. Inside the bookstore reminisce the time I saw Yuki Nashida looking at a picture book of cats without saying anything to me, hurriedly fleeing the scene. When we are about to start skimming through the shelves, we saw a familiar figure inside, still fresh from our talks earlier. It was Chitanda-eru, about to go after buying 3 books. Good evening Hakigaya-san. Yuki Nashida-san. Good evening Chitanda-san. Good evening. We greeted each other. Chitanda wore a white long dress that reaches her knee with an orange tee on top of her dress. The color of her skin that seems to rival the Ice Queen herself complements her whole outfit. We are interlocked in sight while she smiled cutely after greeting us, leaving me flustered for a moment only. Apparently Chitanda is also looking for some new books that seem to be found only here. Yes, I'm also starting to study ahead for the college examinations. I want to give it my very best not to disappoint my family. Oh. Quite a studious one, just like someone that I know very well. I replied with a smug smile on my face. Era, I don't think you see yourself to be the studious type, Hakigaya-kun. With a teasing smile on her face, Yuki Nashida also added, perhaps the ranking might be shaken now for our Japanese quizzes now that we have some newcomers. She is referring to the unchanging trio on the rankings, being Yuki Nashida on top, followed by Hyouka, then him as the third. May I inquire what is your relationship with the sparkling eyes? She tilted her head to the other side, asking us straightforward this question. Both Yuki Nashida and I replied at the same monotonous sound. I gave the same look when Isahiki asked us the same question before asking her what to do. We could BBCC considered P partners perhaps. She trailed off. I think she is driving a cold icicle in my heart in this instant upon hearing the words perhaps. Is that so? I really thought you two are much more than that. This time trailing in the voice came from Chitanda with a weak smile similar to Yuigahama earlier. Are you okay, Chitanda-san? Asked by Yuki Nashida. In this instant Chitanda snapped back from her illusion. Why yes. I am fine. With her usual cheerfulness returned. She bid us farewell and went on her way back to the apartment. What is with your look? Earlier to her, Hakigaya Hachiman. With a strong cold glare mixed with a strong cold tone in her voice, masking a hint of jealousy in what I didn't expected her to notice my astonishment to her. Why yeah yes. TT, that was nothing, he. I replied courageously while being cornered with the cold aura she is expelling that is very familiar yet warm to me right now. Perhaps it is the only time that she used it to me again after developing our relationships. I was astonished to how she looked since it was unexpected and all. Then she gave me a reassuring smile that is warm, feeling relieved from the jealousy she might have felt. It was already 19:20 when we got back to Yuki Nashida's apartment. I helped her bring back the books she bought. Thank you for helping me today, Hakigaya-kun. She gave me a sweet smile while I looked at her, awed with my new discovery for her sweet and jealous side. She really is cute when she expresses herself. My thoughts lined up with her words that utterly shocked me at most at that time. Like her taking revenge at me earlier for the critical hit she took, I received what seems to be an instant kill attack with a reviving power in an RPG game. I got home pretty fast. I'm home, I stated as Komaka greeted me before entering the living room. I gave her the smile that Yuki Nashida wanted me to give to her. After that I went up straight to my room, noticed by Komaka to be strange. What is wrong, Uni-I-chan? With her face confused about my actions right now. I didn't give out a reply and headed inside, even noticing that Komaka seems to be eager to know what happened. I didn't give an answer, only I jumped straight to my bed and rolled on the mattress while screaming onto the pillow with all my might as I feel heat crawl up my entire body to my face. It became clear to me that moment the things that we both want to move in our relationship with each other. Hi Hakigaya-kun, CC, can I just call you? Hachiman. These words of hers struck a home run on my heart. She inadvertently took her hand to her warm face, embarrassed by her request. She followed it again with another, only this time. Why, you CC can just call me by you. Yukino. Never mind the home run on my heart, it seems the ball hit my heart and now my soul is being taken away by the meisters of this world. I felt the warmness in my face as I cannot hide my feelings from her. I slowly gave a big nod. Why yet? So sure. I spatted without thinking. From there Yuki Nashida's face suddenly warmed more and she tries to say anything to make the awkward wind to go away. I broke this silence by bidding my goodbye, alerting her to my desire to go home. Yet. Oh. Yet. Goodbye. Hyouka. Bye. Why Yukino? We both gave in to our desire to use this new request to satisfy each other. Komaka seemed to be hearing my screaming from the pillow, mocked me behind the door. It seems you've had a good time, Unai-chan. From these words I can picture Komaka's teasing but cute face. Yet. I gruffed out strongly enough for Komaka to hear it. I can't believe that my romance is taking a sharp turn that I did not expect. Interlude Chapter: The Maiden's Unheard Confessions. Uegahama's perspective. I am jealous of Yukinon. How long has it been since I have been alone with Hiki? I really should have told my feelings for him. I couldn't move on from this heartache that I feel. Even with the things are right now, I still wanted these genuine feelings of him to pour to me. It is quaint now that I reminisce the times I cried for him. The times I wished to too many stars that he may return my feelings of adornment to him. That is why that time we went on a date. Just the three of us. I didn't want something that is genuine. Yuki Nashida's perspective. I couldn't believe what I just heard. He actually answered my request. For the first time. I bawled over my bed while holding the Pansan figure he gave me before. These feelings of mine can't be stopped. I couldn't hold it back. I'm glad he went home before I started to go back to my home. I only muttered in a tone that is no different from today to the figure. Hachiman. Thank you and I love you. Chitanda's perspective. Why can't Houtara see these feelings of mine? Have I been a bother to him? I am so jealous of those two. Even if they can't say what they want, I can still feel their emotions and feelings for each other. I wish that you may take notice, Houtara. I want you to notice them. But what can I do? Chapter 5: His Deal. Houtara's perspective. It's been 3 weeks since we started going to Subu High School. The place is no different from my old school, Kamiyama High School. Its only difference is the school is more active than it looks. From what I hear, the school is composed of many clubs and almost 1/2 of the student population is active in participation of clubs. They are not compulsory, but those who are willing to expend more energy do so to enjoy their rose-colored life. It is not necessarily wrong, as some enjoy it every day. For me, I have no urge to join people in activities. I stick adhering to my motto: if I don't have to do it, I won't. If I have to do it, make it quick. Yes, I yearn for the gray-colored life. My old friend in Kamiyama High, Satoshi, pointed this out to me in our second year. Do you wish to change your life at one point, Houtara? What if there is someone that you yearn to be with? What if the time comes to your life that you have to make a decision between a rose-colored life for your gray-colored life? I don't understand what his point from that is before. It was after Valentine's Day and the day we announced our transfer that he told me about these words, seemingly to be just an empty thought, devoid of any meanings for me. It was our last heart-to-heart talk. If I think of it now, I couldn't forget these words of his. Up until now I try to understand his words, but to no avail. All I fall back to is to think that it's pointless. Nothing is pointless, only that some are nonsensical. After all, there are things that even the smartest person in the world couldn't even account for, no matter how cynical or rotten they are. These are the words that is left by the former advisor of the club that Chitanda and I are currently in, now a part of. At her request, we joined the Classics Club in order for us to find a place with society, as she stated. Just this morning I decided that it is time that I take actions towards these words of Satoshi. to rest my thoughts over this words of his. There must be a purpose for us to be in this club after the words of Hiratsuka-sensei. I suppose using my brain a little more than I usually do would be better, but no matter how I think far ahead, how plausible any solution, any explanations came up, nothing is concrete to any of them. It was already lunchtime, and as usual many students start to rush towards other classrooms, to the canteen or to the restroom first. I approached the man seated in front of me with a dead fish eye and someone that caused all sorts of trouble for other people before in the past, as described by some people in the campus. "Hakigaya-san, do you have a lunch?" I casually asked him, not letting out a suspicious air from me as I prepared for this day to come by asking him before in different occasions. "Huh? No, I don't," replied by the man, not surprised anymore. I moved towards the canteen with the man, buying him a lunch as a treat and acquiring his max coffee with my preference of tea for this cold day. We proceeded then to the spot where he usually takes his lunch. I noticed first the breeze that changes here in this time of the day. I could see why he has taken a liking to this place. If I have found this spot before, I would have been compelled to come here every day to relieve my brain of some stress. I could see why you like this place, Hakigaya-san. This place has the best circulation of air that even the air conditioner that our room and even my bedroom has to offer. With a visible smile on his face. By the way, what is it that you want to ask about me, Oreki-san? He caught on to my idea. I have no idea what you are saying, Hakigaya-san. I must have made a wrong move somewhere. No. You are acting rather suspiciously today than compared the others. I guess you are setting this day up for something where you can talk freely to me without somebody else hearing what you want to. He knew. Is that so? I didn't think you could have caught on to my plans that easily. Don't take me lightly. When somebody acts suspiciously around you all the time, it is necessary to hold out any unnecessary thoughts first, as they may have an ulterior motive behind their actions. Source me. What kind of logic is that? Even looking at his visible smirk, looking like he attained victory. The truth is, I was bothered by what my friend told me not just long ago. With this I stated everything that has been bothering me. I'm also bothered by the bubbling feelings inside me. What feelings? With an inviting look on his face to tell me more about something that I couldn't understand either. Well, whenever I'm with Chitenda, sometimes when I'm interacting with her, a sudden change wells up inside me. I do not know how I can describe it, sorry. Hakumen's perspective. Is this guy an idiot or what? Well, I guess I can also be considered an idiot in some way, but this guy seems to be more capable than me. Well, if I think of this as a request from him, I shall act as a member of the service club to my capabilities to rectify this problem of his. Hiratsuka-sensei, I shall part some wisdom that you shared to me and look after somebody now like you did for us before. This is what you actually want, right? Utara's perspective. Do I take it that it is your request for me to help you understand about these feelings of yours, as well as the words that your friend said to you? Said the man, I'm looking with a full awe in what he just stated. Yes, please. But please keep this from the other members if possible, especially to Chitenda, if she suddenly becomes curious. From that I felt a strong shiver in my spines, as if a bad omen just arrived to me. I understand. As a member of the service club, I take up your request and rectify this problem of yours, he said in a cool kid fashion. Thank you very much, Hakigaya-san, I replied while bowing my head to affirm my graciousness and politeness for his time. You can drop the honorific now, Oreki. In that moment I was amazed that he just closed some distance between us now. Yes, Hakigaya. It's a pleasure. The remaining classes passed by quickly. Hakigaya and I started to move towards the club room. The corridors are quiet, as if devoid of people. This is because not much people go towards this side of the building after class. Only those that use this route to go somewhere which is highly unlikely, or those that have an actual business on the building. Inside the club room, Chitanda and the others without Hyouka are already inside. Good afternoon Oreki-san, Hakigaya-san. Good afternoon Oreki-san, Hachiman. Ya hello. Good afternoon Unai-chan, Oreki-kun. They greeted in a choir-like order, but Chitanda and Yuki Nashida-san being more powerful than the others. We both taken our respective seats while Yuki Nashida pours us some tea with Chitanda organizing some snacks for us from their household. We've been like this for a few days, with some other days we received some consultations for some problems. I'm amazed with how the three original members handled the affairs fairly easy. I guess experience really takes part in some of those things. That realization took me to ask for Hakigaya's help in my own matter. Chitanda-san, can you help me take this to the faculty office please? Asked by our president with the puppy eyes on her look. But even if she doesn't do that, Chitanda would have accepted it fairly quickly. Sure, what are these though? These are all different reports about the resolved cases of the service club in the past weeks. Arakai, I'm coming too. Uegahama stated while helping carrying some stack of papers outside. With these the room was filled with silence for a moment until, "Are you okay Yukino?" Hakigaya taking notice to a pale Yuki Nashida while holding her temple from a headache. "Yeah, I'm fine," replied by the pale lady in front of me. From that I noticed that the cookies settled on the table are the same one that has whiff of whiskey on them. "Yuki Nashida-san, did you take some of the cookies on the box?" I inquired to confirm my suspicion. "Yes, I took 2 pieces after Chitanda-san offered me some. I knew it." "I'm sorry about that. I guess you aren't used to this kind of brands," I retorted to straighten out Chitanda's mistake. "Don't worry about it. I was quite amazed about the flavor of the cookies. I might try some with a weaker brand of wine next time." With a soft smile that accepts my apology. The 3 ladies returned back to the club room after a few minutes. There were some chatter on the other side where Komaka, Chitanda and Uegahama would talk about some sort ladies talk and random facts, where Komaka would sometimes interject with some joke about his brother. This moment lasted for about an hour when there was a knocking on the door signaling that we might have a potential job to take. Chapter 6, Tennis Tournament. "Excuse me Hachiman everyone. Good afternoon." The voice with a soft tone on it despite his gender that I always knew. Tatsuka Saika, the captain of the tennis club, entered our room with that appears to be a request. "Oh. Tatsuka, good afternoon. Take a seat first." I offered words to be able to hear his request. Yukino poured some tea to a cup and given it to Tatsuka while Chitanda offered some cookies to him. "It seems you guys have some new members." Tatsuka, after offering his gratitude towards Chitanda and Yukino. "Yes, Hiratsuka-sensei pointed them here before they transfer over," Komaki answered. "Pleased to meet you. I'm Chitanda Eru and this is Oreki Hutara." "Pleasure to meet you. My name is Tatsuka Saika. I'm the captain of the tennis club." "Tatsuka-kun, may we hear your request then?" followed by Yukino. "You see, in Friday we will be having our exhibition match against another high school to prepare in the Chiba tennis tournament. The thing is, 2 of my members are injured when some first years picked a fight with them and can no longer participate in the match to recover. If it's okay, can I borrow your club's participation for the exhibition match? Yuki Nashida-san and Hachiman especially. Can you guys substitute for some of our members that cannot participate?" asked by Tatsuka. "Wait, you said that only 2 members of yours are injured, right? What do you mean with some of our members?" asked by Oreki. "You see, some of the first years are not eligible yet to join as they have joined the club rather late. We submitted the exhibition match earlier before so that those who are late registers cannot join." "I see. Komaka-chan, is it okay for us to take this request of Tatsuka-san?" asked by the second in command of the club, Yukino. We will be glad to give you a hand, Saika-kun replied excitedly by Komaki. If it's okay, I would also like to join to Tatsuka-san. Followed by Chitanda. Then it is settled then. I thank you for your time, guys. Interjected by Tatsuka, but I have a different say to go here. No, you helped us before, Totsuka. It is only natural for us to return the favor, I said with an innocent smile on my face. That is relieving to hear, Hachiman. Then can you guys join in our practice in the following days? I will provide the team uniform for you guys to borrow with the tennis racket also. I don't see why we can't. Right, Hachiman stated by Yuki Nashida. Hachiman followed by Tatsuka with a cute curious face. Ah. So you two really are dating now? This statement of Tatsuka both caught Yukino and I off guard. Both of us turned beet red and we both looked at each other the same time. This just made us look away with a nervous face. Tatsuka, I think you should stop now. I can't think straight right now. I guess. Why you see could say that. Stated by Yukino with an embarrassed look and a sheepish sound words. Cried in chorus by the girls in surprise, with Oreki just giving me a surprised look on his face with a soft oh. You Yukino? I instinctively asked. It's fine, Hachiman. I'm the one that asked for the request, she replied. Ani-chan. Why did you leave dear Komaki in the dark? When you went with Yuki Nashida-san with the notes. That's why you are bawling in your bedroom. Even I don't know about this. I retorted back when suddenly a winter feeling appeared behind my back. Hachiman, I said, it is fine. Yuki Nashida's smile is one filled with eyes that are filled with ice all over it, with a smile that pierces even the strongest person. Why yes. Yukino and I are dating. I instinctively replied to Yukino. Wow, even Ani-chan can't say no to Yuki Nashida-san. It was lunchtime the day after the request was made by Tatsuka. Oreki and I moved towards the tennis club room at the request of Tatsuka to try on the tennis uniform. We arrived there and meet with Yukino Uegahama and Chitanda at the same time. We changed into our respective uniforms after 6 minutes and gave some impressions about it. Hachiman, how does it look? Asked by Yukino that got out the same time as I. It suits you perfectly. With a warm smile on my face I replied. How's that, Wikipedia? As I thought to myself. That uniform looks rather not suited to you, Hakajirma. With a witty remark and a teasing smile on her face, Uegahama just laughed from the sides with Tatsuka. Suddenly Chitanda came out and asked Oreki while blushing, "Oh Oreki-san, does the skirt looks short?" Oreki replied back while looking flustered, with his eyes darting back and forth to the wall on the other side to her, "And no, it looks good on you. Thank you, Oreki-san." We then went on to practice with some of the other members participating. The exhibition match is composed of best of 5 for both singles and doubles. Yukino and I are placed in the doubles while Chitanda went to the singles. For the past 3 days we trained every lunch and after school, while some stages and viewing area are being set up by Zamokuza and some free labor workers. And then, finally, it's the day. Let's give it our all out there and show a good friendlies, stated by the captain of the tennis club. We placed our hands in the circle and shouted a reply with fervor like those going to wars, except that we aren't, and Yukino and I didn't enter the circle. You couldn't even fix your collar, Hachiman, stated by Yukino. Sorry, I was holed up by Komaki and Ishiki. Then Zamokuza started to annoy me. You can talk about Zakun later. Here, while handing over a headband onto my face, I lowered my head and let her put it to me. We then went over our bench and watched the match between the captains that serve as the opener for the event that started after lunch. It was a close match, but Tatsuka won in the end after making a jump serve and nailing it on the right side of the enemy camp. It shows that Tatsuka's training after school started to pay off now. Next up was unexpectedly being Yumiko Miura. Although she nearly destroyed us in a doubles match before, it was nice of her to lend Tatsuka a hand considering they are still classmates today. Miura in usual fashion destroyed the opposition quite quickly. As expected from the one that nearly beaten me once, I puffed out while Yukino smiled to me, remembering the match that took a year ago. It was then time for Chitanda to compete now. Do your best, Arukai. Good luck. Encouragement given by Uegahama and Yukino at almost the same time. Do your best. Monotonously sounded by Oreki while I only gave a nod to her. She took off to the field and made a bit of light stretching. She tied her hair upwards while she wore a sun visor to be not blinded by the sun. She managed to make a lucky serve, earning her the first point. But the following weren't so lucky when she started to miss most of the return hits after 3 rallies. She is down by 2 points, but she still showed some skill by starting to move faster than the enemy and returning them by the 4th rally faster. It was finally a deuce. She is good at applying her own strength and returning them by adapting to how she is comfortable. I thought to myself, she lost the first match point, but she started the next rally strong. She moved faster and faster, returning the balls much harder for her enemy until she fell down trying to reach the ball from the farthest edge of the court. Oreki Uegahama and I rushed to her side to see if she is okay. Chitanda, are you okay? Asked by Oreki, now kneeling down to see if there is anything he can do. Oh ouch. The only reply Chitanda gave to us while holding her ankle and knees. It might have been a sprain. Let's take her to our bench so she can sit down and rest for a while, I quickly suggested. From there we carried her together where Uegahama supported her from the back, walking to our bench. Yukino came back after getting some supplies in one of our bags and started to attend to her ankle and scrapped knees. It seems like a sprain. I will apply some first aid to her first, then we can take her to the nurse's office later. I'm sorry I let you down, everyone. I'm sorry. Chitanda apologized to us with a teary look that is about to burst into tears any time. Oreki stepped in and it's okay Chitanda, you are amazing back there. With a warm smile he reassured Chitanda's feelings. Ah. Thank you Oreki-san. Smiled back by Chitanda, that seems to have something more in that smile of her. She remained in the bench for the rest of the singles. There is a 30 minutes break time and then the tournament proceeded to the doubles. The doubles tournament started in an intense fashion with our team losing the first 2 rallies. Miura and her partner of choice in the club managed to defeat their enemy to bring the game to the hands of Tatsuka. They wasted no time delivering an awe-inspiring combination play with the young ace of our team. The enemy didn't manage to secure a single point against Tatsuka and the young ace, bringing us into Game 5. Yukino and I prepared by warming up when Oreki suddenly moved towards us. What do I need to do to help Chitanda? I wanted to ease her pain. Let's see. You can change the ice pack on her feet. And then don't let her be dehydrated. Replied by Yukino with a simple smile on her face. Got it? Good luck to both of you, he said while returning to the bench where Chitanda is seating. Our opponent in the match is the captain of the enemy team with what appears to be a senior of their team. Yukino wasted no time in attacking them. She made a jump serve that is quickly returned by the senior on the backside towards me, where I returned it to the captain's side and he missed. The first point is quickly achieved by our team. The rallies became much more intense where we reached the match point and could possibly end the game in an instant. But now the real problem starts to kick in. Are you okay, Yukino? Yeah, I think I'm near my limit, but I can still end this game now. Don't push yourself. Come on, let's switch place. I don't want you getting injured right here. I guess so. Very well then, you serve the ball this time. Words by Yukino that seems to be breathless by the heat of the game. We switched areas and then I felt that different breeze that I am accustomed in this moment. I deliberately sent the ball fast in the enemy camp and I placed myself behind Yukino. where I await the ball to change direction from the breeze when the enemy sent it high up and made a feint to end the game by making the ball just barely enter the corner of the enemy side. We came out victorious and the cheer for both teams raised from the audience's sides. Yukino made a small fist and pumped it towards her while giving me a high five. We proceeded then to shake hands with the enemy team as a sign of sportsmanship. After that Yukino went with Uegahama to change while Zamokusa approached Tatsuka and I seems to be itching a chat with us. It was a fine match, Hachiman. Exasperated by Zamokusa while holding his glasses. Yeah. Thanks. Come to think of it, where is Oreki and Chitenda? They both went to the nurse's office to have Chitenda checked. I asked Zamokusa to assist them both. Replied by Tatsuka that is worried about her. I hope she is alright. It was a pretty bad fall after all. Well, I'm sure they will be alright. I'm going to visit them there right now. Let's meet in our club room later so I can brief you on the end of your request. After that I went on to the nurse's office to see them both to be talking to each other. I didn't wanted to bother them one bit, so I just proceeded then to the club room so I could take my change of clothes and take a shower before they return. When I arrived, a familiar look from a same sequence unfolded from the club room. I'm going to take I cut off suddenly when I realized that Yukino is changing in the club room. What are you looking at, Hachiman? Furiously the Ice Queen herself wailed at me with the tennis rocket seems to be flying at the speed of sound when I closed the door quickly and turned around. Tisk. What a cliché. Nice one, rom-com gods. Chapter 7 Admittance. Utara's perspective. I didn't know what I did back before. My body just moved for no reason. Just like now. What is driving me crazy? I thought to myself. I've been in the nurse's office for about an hour accompanying Chitenda after she sprained her ankle in the exhibition match. I am concerned for her, but I couldn't understand what is driving me to do much more for her. Oreki-san? Is there something wrong? With a curious face Chitenda raised her look onto me. From our short distance the reflection of the orange sunlight gives a vibrant look upon her expression that is rather cute and cunning. And no. Just some things. I replied back to her, but she didn't stop. If there is something that you want to share with me, I will always listen to your problems. With her face that is glowing all while giggling after her words. Why am I heating up? This is not good. Just forget my look back then. There is just something bothering me a bit. With that Chitenda stopped with a sullen look on her face. This makes me wondered about what she was thinking right now. Sorry Chitenda. But right now is not the time for it. I will tell you about it the next time. I'm so sorry. I gave my heartfelt apology, which seems to raise her gloom a little bit. The door of the room opened with the nurse in charge gave us permission to go out now with some medicines and words of advice. Chitenda, can you stand up finally? I asked her, prepared to carry her if needed to. Why, yeah, I can. She replied back to me while we walked towards the club room. We are at the stairs going up the special building when. I'm fine, or be careful Chitenda. I'm fine Oreki-san, so Lalo Wia. Chitenda. I scurried my body to align myself to catch her, protecting her from any harm when she tripped on the stairs. Chitenda's perspective. Oh Oreki-san. Are you alright? I hurriedly straightened up myself while feeling embarrassed. Oreki-san just saved me. I thought to myself. Utara, I'm sorry. I tried to stand up myself, but I felt the scratch in my knees. That is when. Utara's perspective. I stand up after affirming my safety to Chitenda. I reached out my hand to her, showing my desire to help her up since she is having a hard time doing so. I'll help you up. I said to her, looking on the side, deliberately avoiding eye contact. She took my hand and stood up, but when she tried to let go I tightened my grip out of fear that she will trip again. "Oh, Oreki-san?" She asked me with a curious look on her face. But her curious look is different from these past days. It was the one when she would ask me fervidly to a mystery. It is a mysterious of me to tighten my hand on hers. That's why I replied, I just want to make sure you will not trip again on the way back. She had a surprised look on her face. While I jerked my head on the other side, I could no longer see her expression. She just giggled and nodded to me while we moved up the stairs towards the club room. When we reached the club room, only Yuki Nashida-san, Uegahama-san and Hyouka are present. Arukai, are you alright now? Yes, the nurse said that I can move around as long as I don't overexert myself. Hyouka, where is Komaki-chan? She went to the club room with Tatsuka to report the confirmation of the job being done. We took our seats and noticed some scratches on Hyouka's arm. Hyouka, what happened to your arm? After that, the room temperature suddenly lowered when Yuki Nashida-san closed her book and stared at us both. And no. This is an accident that I incurred to myself because I am careless. Hyouka replied to me, sweating from the cold stare of Yuki Nashida-san. Yes, it is just an accident. Right, Hachimon? Yuki Nashida-san replied back. Why, yes. With Hyouka being careful not activating her wrath. What happened to these two? I thought while Chitanda giggled and Uegahama smiling. Tatsuka suddenly entered the room with Komaki and Isahiki following behind him. Chitanda-san. Is your injury much better now? Inquired by Tatsuka with an apologetic face. Yes, I am fine now. Oreki-san helped me to get here, so it's okay. Chitanda replied back with her cheerful face. Well then, the tennis club's request has been a total success. Congratulations everyone. Komaki-chan interjected herself with the announcement. I didn't do anything worth noting though. Thank you very much everyone. The exhibition match was a success altogether. My club members are about to eat to celebrate our victory. You are all invited to join us if you may, guys. Tatsuka stated with the invitation to join everybody else for a victory round. I'm sorry Sai-chan, I promised Mama that I will come home early to help her cook for dinner. Uegahama reasoned out. Me too Tatsuka-kun, I am fairly tired in the tournament. Followed by Yuki Nashida-san. Then sorry Saika-chan, we are stumped with a lot of assignment today, so I guess I have no time. Reasoned out by our club president. Sorry Tatsuka. You know it will be weird for me to be there. Hyouka reasoned out. That seems to be implying something different. I guess everybody is out of it after the match. It's okay though, next time let's eat together to celebrate the victory. Replied warmly by our client. Sure Tatsuka, just give us a talk next time. Then should we be going then, everybody asked by our very own Komaki-chan. With that we agreed and started to pack our things and move to the front gate. I carried Chitanda's bag and assisted her on the way to the gate, where we waited for Hyouka to get his bike from the parking area. When he got his bike, I decided to ask him to wait for me in the park after we took Yuki Nashida-san and Chitanda back to their apartment. When we arrived at the apartment, the three of us helped with Chitanda got to her room safely. Chitanda-san, if there is anything you need, give me a call and I will come to your room to help you out. Offered by Yuki Nashida-san for a helping hand. I will take upon your generosity, Yuki Nashida-san. Thank you very much, Chitanda cheerfully replied. I will rest inside now. Thank you again for helping me today, you too Oreki-san. You've helped me today very much. And no, I just wanted to help you since you can't do much. I retorted back to her, but she just giggled gleefully. She then waved at us and went inside her room. I will be parting here, Hachimon Oreki-san. Yuki Nashida-san gave us an indication. From here she went on to the bridge that connects two buildings 4 floors above us now. From the building we went to the nearby park from the station where Hyouka and I can separate rather easily our ways. When we arrived I quickly made my way towards the nearby vending machine and bought 2 max coffee and gave the other one to Hyouka when we took our seat in the nearby bench. Then what is it you want to talk about, Oreki? Have you ever felt your actions to be sometimes filled with drive without any reason or whatsoever? That is rather straightforward. You could say that it only happened once to me. You know about the prom job that took place last March, right? Yeah. It was supposed to be an event that shouldn't have taken place because of some issues from the parents' side. The truth is that the event only took place because I negotiated with the representative of the Parents Association to allow the planned event by Yuki Nashida to take place. What I did specifically is I made a dummy proposal which will make the one made by her more probable than mine. There is a brief silence between us. I waited for him to finish before I could speak my mind. I realized before that I wanted to be involved in Yukino's life. I tarnished my reputation in front of many before. I was ready to give my life to her. It wasn't the most convenient way of saying, but yeah. I loved her. I was in awe by hearing these words of his. He then followed. I could understand what you are going through right now, and I think that's why Hiratsuka-sensei wanted you two to spend your time with us. I think you've been thinking about it the whole time. I could say you try to understand, but no matter what side you reach it is still not enough. Cause after all we both couldn't understand the feelings of others. When said those words all fall into places. I didn't use my energy just to show others what I feel. I didn't consider what I feel. I regarded them to be irrelevant. Even on the slight chance I rejected the thought of having feelings when in fact. Then what you are saying is that I have taken a liking to Chitanda. Then are you ready to admit that your youth is wrong? Are you ready to change for those who wanted to be with you? With a short silence I couldn't give an answer. Think hard. Think of what is important to you. It's not necessary for you to answer it now. Eliminate every other possibility that you think is wrong. And when you reach to that one thing that doesn't make sense, then it is possible that you must put your feelings there to answer it. With that Hyouka stood up from the bench and started to motion towards his bike, preparing to leave the area. I quickly followed him to see him off first before I go home. When I reached my house Anaki is not yet home. I brewed some coffee and take some sips while thinking of the future and the truth to his words. It was well 1 hour. Is it really just that simple of an answer? Do I really have it in me to change? What do I have to sacrifice to change myself? Am I really in love? Will she accept me as I am? I can't be careless. I need more time. Chapter 8 No Less Than You, Utara's Perspective. I woke up feeling much hotter in the day. It was only 14 days in the month, but we are already in the summer season and the temperature only continues to rise from here. I splashed some cold water on my face to wake myself much more and proceeded to the living room. The air conditioner is already in full blast, but the humidity is still felt in the room from the beams of sunshine going through our window. When arrived at the table I was greeted by Anaki while brewing some coffee. Good morning Utara. It seems you slept well yesterday. Yesterday the service club is invited to a celebratory dinner after our win at the exhibition match last month. I was rather forced by Chitanda to attend at the celebration and so I have no choice but to attend as well. It was pretty lively considering they have brought 2 loners and an energy-conserving person to the event. Uegahama Chitanda and Komaka sang some songs, even Ishaiki also came and sang. On the other hand the 3 of us sat on the other side since we didn't have an urge to sing a song. Tatsuka joined both sides, having a chatter with us longer than those who sing. Anaki poured me some coffee while I started to munch on some of the set breakfast. Then I picked up the newspaper set beside my seat and started to read. Unlike most people I enjoy reading the newspaper. I use this as an excuse to use my brain as an exercise. I mostly read the page where the most of the latest news are. While reading, I will munch on some of the breakfast and take some sip of the coffee in front of me. When I finished, I take my plates to the sink and proceeded to wash myself and change to my uniform. I took my bag and went downstairs towards our door. I'll be going now, Anaki. Take care, Hutara. And with that I started my unpleasant walk to the school. It was dreadful to say the least about going to school with this temperature. It is only starting, yet we will have to bear with this temperature till the end of the summer break. I arrived at the school the same time I always arrive. I took my indoor shoes from the shoe locker and proceeded to my classroom. The way to the classroom was full of energetic people left and right. I was just passing by them, giving no heeds to look or give an inch of attention to them. I arrived at my designated room. I entered it like normal, where most students don't notice my entrance at all. I took my seat and noticed that there is much more time than usual. I entered a sleeping position since I had no interest at reading the book that I just bought from the store the other day. I thought this was the most optimal way for me to conserve my energy. But just as I entered my sleep, a dream, or rather a nightmare, struck at me. I was trapped in some mirror dimension where at every corner I look I only see my reflection at every turn. At one side, Chitanda appeared in my sights while she was walking away from me. I tried to chase after her, but the moment I tried to reach for her, my hands didn't connected with her shoulder. After that, she suddenly became my reflection everywhere in the mirror. From one of the reflection, a single hand suddenly reached out to me. I took her hand and she slowly pulled me out with a smile on her face while we both fall out of the dimension. I was awakened only by Hyouka a few moments after the bell rang and our teacher entered our room. I couldn't understand what does the dream meant. For now my focus shifted from my thoughts to our teacher's lecture. The dream rattled my attention from the writings then, so I was half awake in our lectures. I often stared into the distance while looking at our teacher. It was inconsiderate, but as of that time my thoughts aren't that aligned with my actions. It was already lunchtime, as most of the students didn't waste any more time in moving to the canteen to buy some food. Hyouka and I started to move to the canteen to buy some of our usual food before they are sold out. We separated inside to speed up our time in buying, so I moved to the vending machines and bought 2 max coffees and proceeded to the exit waiting for Hyouka. When we are done with business here, we then go to the best place for us to eat our lunch. We enjoyed the tranquility the place has to offer, thus eating our lunch all the more enjoyable. We finished our food but our drinks. We took our precious time while enjoying the breeze that blew inwards the land before going back to the sea. It was a serene silence until... Are you alright, Oreki? I just had a bit of a bad dream. I didn't think you can have a bad dream in this moment. Is that some kind of compliment to me, Hyouka? I looked at him sternly. Don't take me personally, but I think you misunderstood your dream. In fact, it is simple. What is simple? The fact that the dream is a bad one. The fact is that what you saw is what you are right now. Oh. The fact is that the dream I had is where I was trapped in countless mirrors, where I was pulled only by Chitanda. After I stated that, Hyouka had a demeaning look on his face. There was a brief pause in our conversation until he broke that silence again. Then I guess what I say is true. You never understood yourself. You couldn't even understood her feelings. This last line of his got my temper a little high, and I replied back with a more serious look on my face. Oh. We are not even alike, Hyouka. From what I heard from many rumors, you caused some problems for some people. Does that burn your conscience a bit, Hyouka? No. Not one bit. I say this because people are simple beings. There are a lot of things you can see from them, but not many people can see their true colors. I simply rejected the notion of society before. It was all due my suffering and experiences that led me to be a loner. But I didn't have a shred of regret. In fact, I was grateful I become a loner. Because of it I was used to all kinds of hurtful feelings. I never had looked upon to other people to understood me. Because of it I never had to see myself all the more pathetic once again. I couldn't believe what Hyouka just said. There was a long silence that fall in that space of ours. I was ready to listen to what he has to say more. When I determined that there was none, I made my move this time. Let me repeat this for you, Hyouka, we are not alike. I will never be like you. I was never a loner because society forced me to. I choose to be alone because I wanted to. I stuck to my motto for 10 years and I strive to do my best with it. But with all of that I will never stoop so low like you. I was never at the lowest of the low, I simply choose that seems to be convenient for me. We didn't spoke much after our banter. When the bell rung I was broken out of my trance from our exchange by Hyouka and we went to the classroom. We didn't spoke a thing about our banter, but it felt as if someone heard us in that silence that comes from us. The last remaining classes all passed and Hyouka and I started to move to the club room. When we are about to exit, Chitanda was waiting for us outside. Oreki-san, can we talk somewhere about something? Sure. You go ahead, Hyouka. He nodded back and started to move to the club room. Chitanda and I on the other hand went to the grounds where Hyouka and I took our lunch. Oreki-san, what did you two fight over here? What are you talking about, Chi-? I'm curious, Oreki-san. With that she thrown her catchphrase at me. With no way to escape her now, I started to talk about our banter to her while we took our seat. So that what happened? I noticed her grip on her hand to tighten while her voice trembled from the story of my dream and our banter. Don't mind about that, Chitanda. I'm sure Hyouka has no ill intention towards me. There was a brief silence between us when she replied. I don't mind you being the way you are right now, Oreki-san. I guess it is better for you this way. And no. That is not what Hyouka meant. Maybe. But I get the feeling that it could be better this way. You know, Oreki-san. She didn't continue her words. I was waiting for her to finish it, but she just shrugged off her shoulder and then. No, it's nothing. Come on, let's go the club room. What did she meant about those words of her? I never got to understood those words of her that moment. I am different from Hyouka and yet. Why am I like this? Interlude chapter. Why does one shed tears for whom? Chitanda's perspective. It was past 2200 hours, yet my mind is restless. My room is dimly lit with the incandescent lights that are set. I talk with Oreki-san about their argument in the lunch. It was only a stroke of bad timing when I passed by that side to eat my lunch at the club room with the others. I heard perfectly that he was no less than Hyouka-san. But it was much more than that, to be honest. If he isn't the way he is now, he wouldn't be able to understand my curiosity at all. Slowly these curiosities of mine started to take shape into something that desires him every time. I was contemplating about this feelings I have when a single drop of tear fall from me. I guess I am affecting Oreki-san somehow. I didn't want to be a bother to him. I guess he has done enough for me before in the past. Life sure is unfair. I wanted to tell him that time that I wanted him to stay with me from now on. But I can't. If I told him that, he will just surely run away. Even so, I couldn't understand these tears of mine. I don't know what I couldn't bear even more. If I will never see him after this, or if he will not accept my feelings for him. Chapter 9. It's a date. It's a date? It was a peaceful Sunday in the Hyouka household. I was doing my routinely studies for the upcoming midterms. I was one of the top 3 in Japanese studies. After all, I cannot let my reputation to fall. Well, that is, if there is some reputation that is left for me, that is. A week has passed since our banter with Oreki. Yukino felt that I was restless when I reached the club room, so she inquired me the other day when we are alone inside about that happened. I managed to explain my situation to her and she accepted my explanation to the situation. Right now Komaki is busy doing her assignments also while reviewing for her midterms. In a sense Komaki passed the powers momentarily to Yukino for the club activities to allow some room for her growing stress and anxiety of failing. I was pretty silent. In order to help Komaki focus even more, I did half of the household chores for her. Now I was preparing to cook our lunch and eat. I was nearly done waiting only for the rice to cook when a call came from my phone across the room. I picked up my phone and looked at the caller's detail written on it. It was Yukino trying to reach me, so I answered and started our conversation. "Hello Yukino-san. I think I may have called a wrong number. I certainly typed Hachimon in my phone address. I didn't expect it to be Hakigaya-kun to answer. You know it is just the same, right? Then what is it, Yukino?" "Nothing. I was just checking up on you to see you aren't being lazy like someone out there." I realized her sarcastic tone in her voice, also with the name of the person she is referring to from our past talks. There is no strained relationship between us two. And I wasn't going to turn like him just yet. Sarcastically I replied back to her. "Then how are your studies going, Hachimon? I assume you are not letting yourself to lose your top 3 spot in Japanese studies." "Yukino, I don't think our spots will ever change. That ranking is fixed already as far as I know. Not like you will fall from the top spot at least." "Is that a challenge for me, Hachimon? Want to make a bet?" "Sure, let's make it like the service club competition then. The one who gets a higher position in the ranking can order the other person to single command." "You sure are confident, Hachimon. I hope you are prepared to do my bidding after you lose," she sternly stated as if she was preparing my death rites. "You know you can be scary sometimes, Yukino. If I didn't think you to be lovely girl, I don't think that I would have considered going out with you." Like a pickup line I dropped these witty words to her. There was a long line of silence, then Yukino replied with a weakly voice. "Your way of expressing your feelings sure is comfortable, Hachimon. Then I will be looking forward to our rankings then. Bye." She then hung up before I can return a reply. From out of nowhere I heard Komaki's voice in the room. "Oni-chan can sometimes have his way in his words, teehee. Don't be such a cute worrywart, Komaki-chan." After that call I studied much more just to win this competition of ours. It was not the case for me, but since we are talking about Yuki Nashida here, she will definitely go all out in this competition. A simple study set will not break it for me. 2 weeks later. The exams week are way past behind us, and now we are waiting for the results of the rankings in examinations. I of all people normally wouldn't be bothered much by such system. It was only made to publicly humiliate those who do poorly in academics. A little incentive is then achieved by knowing that you have done something that is normal from what you did. When the break time comes, Oreki and I moved towards the bulletin boards to look for our result. I spotted Yukino and Chitanda among those who are waiting to look to the results. Uegahama and Komaki followed to our side afterwards, and in a few moments Ishaiki opened the curtains of the bulletin boards. Apparently it was their idea to make it like a ceremonial thing to announce the rankings like this. Komaki went to the area where first years are posted while the 5 of us moved closer to the boards. I quickly took notice of Uegahama's name near the middle, followed by Oreki in about 1/4 of the highest rankings. We then quickly looked upon the usual spots where our names are posted for 2 years. It was a rather shocking discovery for the 3 of us. Normally Yukino will be at the highest, followed by Hayama Hayato, then in 3rd will be me. But this time Hayato is in 4th, followed by me. In 2nd was Yuki Nashida, Yukino losing her spot to Chitanda Eru. Yuki Nashida is in 2nd. I uttered to myself in disbelief about the rumors about this girl's proficiency. Is there something wrong, Hachiman? She turned her face towards me, curious about my reaction. And no. I just didn't expect Chitanda will be this good in Japanese. I stated my case to shrug off my biased opinion about the results. Well, it's not like other people doesn't really take their time to review diligently. I'm sure Chitanda-san review just like us, Hachiman. Her reply: that seems fine despite losing the top spot from her. Yukino has been the type to regard many matter competitively, but this cute side of her is the first time I seen her take a defeat graciously. Well, this is only one part of our thoughts when we look at the results. Yukino then followed our silence with her words. Well then, Hachiman, the condition for our competition is for whoever gets a higher ranking than the two of us, right? Yeah. It's my loss, fair and square. Then what is it you want me to do? Let's see. Just one thing, Hachiman. I want you to go out with me on your birthday, she declared in front of me with full determination. I was taken aback by her wish. It seems that she was being aggressive herself with her declaration of love for me. It took me a minute to realize her words and then. Yukino, is that fine for you? Yeah, I wouldn't be able to get you out of your house for your birthday from your own will. I figured this will be the most efficient way to do it, she blatantly stated in front of me. It feels like a girl asking me to go out with her forcefully. Since this is Yukino we are talking about, I have no choice but to. Sure. I guess it's fine. I accepted her demands. With that, August 8th has been marked in my calendar as an event for me. Utara's perspective. It was a pretty tiresome break time. Most of the student population is on the bulletin boards. I didn't expect that much people will tire me so much. It was thanks to Chitanda that I managed to move away from the crowd before a headache settles in. She held my hand and slipped us past to the back end of the hall. Chitanda. Yes, Oreki-san. How long are you going to hold my hands? When I pointed out to her unconscious behavior. I'm sorry, Oreki-san. She then pulled her hands back to her and held it tighter near her chest. Why am I suddenly so conscious about holding her hands? She has done it before even, but now I want to hold on to it much longer. I thought to myself in that long silence of ours. What is your results, Oreki-san? She broke the silence and asked me this question. I was above average. It is a surprise that even here you are in the top of the rankings, even more so that you are the top one. I quickly pointed out to her ranking that surprises even everybody in Japanese studies. It was not much. After all, you are helping me with some of the studies for it. You even put up and tutored me in some. I remembered that in the past days before the exam, Chitanda bothered me to come to her house and tutor her. We both studied in those times until the midterms and the results were given to us both. We entered another brief silence after saying out praises to each other. Feeling these looming atmosphere to be unbearable, Chitanda added something to our previous conversation. Oreki-san? If it is not much, can I ask you to come with me to the summer festival? Why is it all of a sudden? I asked her while feeling my cheeks to heat a little. I turned to the other side after stating those words. I saw past a glimpse of Chitanda's face to be blushing a little. It's not much I can do. But it is my way of saying thank you for your help to me. And also. She slowly lose her tone in that bit. I stared at her and noticed her to be much redder than usual. Oreki-san, I want to enjoy at least some of our time here. She finished her sentence looking on her feet and red. I tried to avert my gaze from her while thinking of some excuse I can use. When I couldn't think of any, I gave up and looked at her normally and said, "Sure. Let's go then." A few seconds passed and the wind blew past behind me and I saw Chitanda's face to brighten up with her hair to flutter in the wind. Her cheeks became pinkish and she gave a radiant smile that I saw her before after she asked me to her umbrella in a festival before. With that, the scenery of the cherry blossom petals that whirl around us came back to me rushing. This time and that past was the same. The feelings grew much more inside me to hold her hand. My mouth was open in amazement that I didn't realize it until Chitenda snapped me back. Then it's a date then, Oreki-san. Don't be ridiculous, Chitenda. She only giggled after that and bid her goodbye momentarily. We went to our respective classrooms after that and waited for the time to pass by. Chapter 10, The Day of Promised Date. We are already in our summer break. Komaki is doing her homework early as 5 in the morning. I was barely awake thinking about our date today. Yukino called me earlier before August entered. She made arrangements for lodgings in a mountain resort near Mt. Fuji. Word is that the mountain is a frequent place for those who wish to stargazing. The elevation is perfect in terms of temperature, and in some colder days a hot spring is present nearby. She made a serious jump to her usual terms of perfectionism as if it feels that she is trying to one-up me. I finished my breakfast early in the morning, took my bags and bid farewell to Komaki and Kamakura. I then proceeded to the station where Yukino and I will meet. In order to reach the resort we need to take the Tokyo line from Chiba for 2 hours and take a bus to the resort. It was a well-thought plan of her. One could say that I was excited to be spending time with someone who I was dating. I remembered her words after the joint prom was successfully held. I was waiting for her for 5 minutes in front of the station entrance. She entered my view with a rolling luggage and a handbag on her left shoulder. She was wearing girlish blue cardigan over a white one-piece dress and a long hat that is seen to be worn only by high-class lady in some mansions. If by standards by both of us fits Yukino is a high-class lady. By definition she is rather cute today. You look rather fine, Yukino. I praised her looks today with a smile before we enter the station gates. Thank you, Hachiman. The train might leave us, let's go. She motioned me to hold her hand that she reached out to me. I was surprised for a split moment, but I quickly took her hand and moved inside the station. The train just arrived on time when we reached the platform. We placed our bags in the compartment area and took our seats. Yukino seated on the inside after she insisted to sit there. I placed myself near the center aisle and waited for the train to take off. It was only 10 minutes since we started to move. I noticed Yukino to be quite sleepy. It seems like she is a little bit overexcited herself that she didn't got enough sleep yesterday. Are you sleepy? You can use my shoulder as a pillow if you want. I offered her my solace to at least alleviate her weariness a little bit. Aren't you a little bit tired yourself too? I guess we both are overexcited with this trip. She returned to me with a gleeful smile. It was you who gave this as a punishment for me. I don't think even that this trip will be something that I could forget after all. That's why I was so excited that I couldn't sleep last night. I didn't think you could be more honest today, Hachiman. She moved her slender body near me and grabbed hold of my right arm with her left while she put an earphone on my ear. Huh? I looked at her surprised, then she replied. Then I will take upon your offer, Hachiman, and offer something in return. Then she played the music on her MP3 player. The music played is a ballad version of a popular song from a certain anime. I was fond of the original version of this music, but the ballad version is something that is made to be like a lullaby. She placed her head on my shoulder and closed her eyes. I followed her suit and placed my head gently on hers and assumed a sleeping poise. With the song being played, we quickly fall into sleep and only enjoyed the moment that there is. I was awakened by Yukino when we are passing by Mt. Fuji. She asked me to take some pictures of her while passing through on that side. Apparently this was her intention from the start in seating. We then took a selfie while passing by and she quickly changed it to be her wallpaper. I only smiled without a sound to avoid her taking notice of my enjoyment from the trip. It was 11:20 when we arrived at the lodge. There is a surprising amount of people that is present here today. For most people in this time, going to places that offers a much cooler atmosphere is expected since the heat of the summer season continues to rise. We checked in and went to our room. When we entered, the fragrance of the room suddenly flows under our noses. The interior of it has a vibrant color that makes the air seems cooler than it is already. I took notice of area and found only one bed, but the size seems to be for 2 people. Yukino. I questioned her, looking at the bed. What is it, Hachiman? Are you getting some dirty ideas? She playfully teases, seeing me all flustered. Don't worry, Hachiman. I know you are not that kind of person. You do after all have a petty thug nature, she replied back to me with a small giggle in the end. After a few moments of rest, we proceeded to the nearby cafe to grab some lunch. It was 12:45 after all, but the place is not that busy. After taking some food, we walk around the town looking for some souvenirs to buy. I was planning on giving something for Komaka since I know she will finish her homework when I got back. I lost sight of Yukino in the brief moment that my thoughts suddenly filled my head. When I found her, she was looking at some pants and merchandise that is sold only in that area. Her habit finally takes over her and started to enter the shop to look for something new to add to her collection. I went inside after her to look for something. I know that this girl is an avid fan of the series, much to her enthusiasm for cats. I snooped for a while, and when I found something, I took it from the shelves and paid for it over the counter without her taking notice. When I go back, how she is doing, she is now holding 3 different pants and figures. She is contemplating about the figures really hard that she barely noticed me near her at all. Have you decided yet, Yukino? I asked her casually to not break her long line of thoughts. She came into her sense and moved towards the counter to pay for the 3 figures. I'm done here, Hachiman. Come on, let's look around the place some more, she replied back to me, smiling with her new additions to the collections of her. We went to the viewing spot over the ecological reserve in the other side of the town. We then made a visit to the local shrine. There Yukino asked me to offer some prayers. I nodded in agreement and solemnly offered my desires to Kami-sama. What did you wish for, Hachiman? I wished for the good health of my parents that feed me, my sister that takes care of me, and of course Yukino that puts up with me as her date. I grinned at her, making sure that I didn't make a mistake in pronouncing my words. She gave a faint warm smile to me, and then we moved to give space for those who will be making their prayers. We took a picture near the entrance before moving much further. Hachiman, I want to show you something later tonight. Do you know? There is a meteor shower later. Chapter 11, My Way. It was only 18:45. I was waiting for Yukino to finish her preparation. We are eating dinner outside again as we saw a different restaurant we want to try. We returned in the lodge earlier to bring back the souvenirs we will bring home, as well as to rest for a while. We both made sure to have plenty amount of rest since the meteor shower will start at 2200 hours. I already finished my preparations for tonight. I didn't told Yukino my other wish earlier in the shrine, but tonight will be different. 5 minutes later Yukino slowly approached me. She finished her preparations by then. She is wearing blue elbow-length polo with green long sleeves beneath it, and above-knee beige shirt and her usual stockings. She also tied her hair upwards with a ribbon knot, holding her handbag she brought earlier and her dark blue scarf. It was a refreshing look for her. Sorry I took so long. She is apologizing already despite being early. I thought to myself, let's go. I reached for her hand after she tied her scarf in her neck. The temperature in the mountain is pretty low despite being in the summer season. Elevation took part in this difference. Outside the wind blew softly, sometimes circling us. The town got much livelier this time. Many people are trekking to a higher place, some are moving in different spots not restricted in the forest. I assume this is to find a good spot to look for the meteors. Despite this, it is still too early, but it is not a bad thing too. Those who strive early achieve a much better results. Yukino and I reached our destination in a few moments of walking. The place was crowded already with some tabled having a reservation notice on them. I already made some reservations Hachiman. Let's go inside. We confirmed our reservations and took our seat near the window facing the steep view of the city. It was a breathtaking view as the site expanded further beyond. It was my first time seeing this view from the mountain. I was once taken to the Tokyo Tower by my parents with Komaki before. Seeing this site is different though. The line of lights was different in hue, different from the rising colors from the tower. The restaurant was local, so the dishes in the menu are all different from what I expected. The mountain range was protected as an ecological habitat zone, meaning that hunting inside the premises is prohibited. So the dishes were named by how the city names them, but the way of preparation and cooking are different. It shows the cultural difference in the area where people live. We are nearly finished eating when the waitress delivered 2 pieces of apple tart to us, with one of it has a candle and a happy birthday written in chocolate syrup. Are you surprised, Hachiman? She witfully asked me while her right hand is closed and in her right holding her fork. I am honestly. Did you prepare this? I asked her. She then replied. Happy birthday Hakigaya Hachiman. Her smile that is honest, her eyes that is full of sincerity, her cheeks that is pink. It was a sight to behold. For the first time Yukino to me looked perfect. I once held a different look of perfection to her, but this time she is already perfect. Before I replied, I gave her the smile that I never used before. It was the smile that I never forget. And then, thank you Yukino. I took the candle above and blow it off. When we are finished eating, we strolled a little bit to take a look around what we missed in the town. It was bustling this time, perhaps because it is nearly time for the meteor shower. The forest has enough lighting installed so that people will not wander aimlessly. They also set up a perimeter to limit the area of movement for the people. There were 3 areas being used. Yukino and I decided that we will take the second area so we can return to the lodge pretty fast when people start to go back. There are also stalls that are periodically placed in the trail. It was a well-thought plan for the town to be an attraction once in a while. It seems a lot of people are already here. Yukino stated, looking around while looking tired already. I started to look for an open spot that is away from many people. I spotted an area that seems to be a few people are staying. It has a lot of tree benches and many leaves of trees are trimmed. There are also no lights, so ideally it is the perfect spot to look for the meteors. Let's go there. I quickly moved in front of Yukino, holding her hand to make sure she will not be separated from me. There are many spots vacant, so I took the middle place that seems to seat 2 people. I waited for Yukino to seat and then I quickly bought some water for her. When I got back, most of the lights except for those incandescent suddenly went out from the back area. The meteor shower started roughly the same time that the lights went out. There are countless streaks of light that now falls from the sky. It was pretty dazzling for the first time for me to see an actual meteor shower. I was amazed by it. I slowly turned around to Yukino to see her reaction. Even in the dark I saw her face thanks to the incandescent lights. In her eyes the stars and the meteor streaks sparkled. Her mouth was open in amazement too, like me. She was clasping her right hand close to her chest. She had a serene look overall. Yukino. What is it, Hachiman? She turned around to meet my gaze. Do you remember how it started? The footbridge. Oh. It was pretty handful, you know, Hachiman. I was pretty handful that time. I thought to run away that moment. I was afraid, you know. She looked back to the meteors falling while her voice started to fleet away. That's why I didn't want to let you go that time. I was afraid that I will lose you forever that time. Before I had the conviction that you and I are the same. I was wrong, and for that mistake I nearly lost you, Agahama, and you. I looked down on my seat, remembering the struggle I had to fix our broken relationship. But that is all in the past now. Right, Hachiman? Yukino. I've been thinking. She returned her gaze to me with a doubtful look, and then I continued after she looked at me. It's been half a year already since you said you love me. My cheeks started to warm up. Eventually I started to blush after continuing. It's not like I'm doing this out of obligation, but Will you be dash? I refuse. She quickly interjected while looking back at the meteors. You didn't even let me finish. Because you are going to ask me to be your friend, right? She smiled back to me, not letting our gazes to be broken. I'm not. She now dubiously looks at me, waiting for me to continue on. I took her left hand and reached from my pocket a bracelet I bought at a store earlier. I slid my fist with the bracelet to her palms and Yukino, will you be my girlfriend? I summoned my final courage and finally asked her to be my girlfriend. I saw in her face the meteor's light streaking, with her face surprised by my sudden confession. She is starting to blush while I held her hand, slowly placing the bracelet on her wrist. The bracelet had a snowflake design on it, perfect for my description to her. She then looked at it, raising her arms to take a closer look at the snowflake. She smiled and took hand in an instant. I looked away to keep myself in check from the pressure. I suddenly felt her hands to move to my left cheeks, and then Yukino took a move with her face towards my cheeks. She gave a kiss on the side that left me speechless and surprised. She placed her head to my shoulders, facing down. I can see her visible smile even when looking only on the sides. Thank you so much, Hachiman. I'm so happy right now. She whispered under her breath, and then she looked at me. I returned her smile back with mine, and I moved her closer to me by hugging her. We finished the meteor shower that lasted for 18 minutes. We then went back to the lodge to rest and to prepare for our trip back tomorrow. Chapter 12, Our Summer Confession. Houtara's Perspective. It was only 7 o'clock in the morning. I thought to myself when I looked at the alarm clock besides me. Today is August 28th, a Friday. Normally this time I would be awake and preparing myself to go to school. We are in the summer break, however. Thus I turned myself over to the bed to snooze some more. I was about to drift away to my thoughts when downstairs the phone started to ring. I was alarmed a bit when it rang for 3 times before it was picked up by Anaki. By then I thought I could finally go back to sleep. Anaki called for me to pick up the call that was directed to be mine. I begrudgingly moved out of my bed and started to move to the living room where the phone was located. Hello? I asked to know the person who is on the other end. Oraki-san? Sorry to bother you. Did I wake you up? And no. I moved the phone a bit away to make sure Chitanda will not hear my yawn. I was just up. What is it, Chitanda? Is it about later? Ah. You remembered Oraki-san. I thought you would have forgotten about it. What time are we going to meet then, Chitanda? How about the station then? We will ride the transit line to reach the venue. Meet me there by 17:30, okay? Got it? Later then. She put down her phone after that, and then I made my way to the table to eat some breakfast. Anaki started to talk to me about what I will wear. Houtara. Have you even considered what you will wear? I guess a plain t-shirt will do with a dash. That will not do, Houtara-kun. She interjected my proposal quickly. Then what do you suppose I should wear then, Anaki? I got a perfect one for you. I will take to your room later. Finish your breakfast first and you will see it. She giggled after when she took her dishes to sink. I continued my solemn breakfast while reading the piece of newspaper left on the table earlier. It was 17:45 already. I was a bit late since I didn't expected Anaki to make me wear this. I was wearing a yukata that is dark gray for some reason. It feels like I was representing the color of my life. Anaki sure has her ways with me before, but this one is certainly feels weird. It has small pockets in the chest area and a little one inside the sleeves also. It was pretty crafty for a yukata to have these pockets. My unkempt hair that I usually just comb is now waxed for some reason by Anaki. Before departing from the house, Anaki stated that, "Utara, make sure to bring me some interesting memories when you get back, alright?" There is a light flip-flops coming from the left side. I took a glance over it and saw a person rushing from what it seems to be wearing a pink yukata with a 3 white petal flower all over it while holding a matching purse on it. It was Chitanda that then I recognized approaching me. Her hair was styled to be raised upwards with a bun-like form while her bangs and some strand falls to the side. I was mesmerized by her looks that I didn't heard her talking to me until she tugged my sleeves to rack my brain a little bit. AHH. I'm sorry. We didn't talk much after she approached me. I was having delay in my brain after seeing her like that beautiful. It was different 2 years ago for the New Year's visit. Let's go, Chitanda. AHH. Sure. We boarded the train northbound. There are a lot of people going to the festival, so Chitanda and I placed ourselves near the entrance. When the train braked a little, I was pushed by the force of it towards the door and mistakenly leaned my face near hers. We both turned red instantly and I pulled my face quickly. Ah. I'm sorry, Chitanda. And no. That is fine. The train is pretty full after all. We both didn't spoke about it. The next thing we noticed is that we are already at the station. My face is still hot from that encounter, so I tried to hide it or just play it off. Many people are walking to the venue, making the way to it to be crowded. From the station we could see the crowds weaving to the venue. There will be a fireworks show later to signify the end of the festival. How is your visit at Kamiyama, Oreki-san? Chitanda initiated the conversation while walking to the venue. It's been a week since Anaki, Chitanda and I went back home to Kamiyama. Of course, Satoshi managed a little bit of welcoming with Ibara at the station. We all took some time to talk about our time here in Chiba. Satoshi, as per usual, is full of questions and useless data. They are both managing the Classics Club. They are now in discussions about the future of the club, so they wanted us both to know their plans to preserve the club. It's fine, I guess. My father and mother are keen to know about my college entrance choices. It was our reason for transferring over. Yes. My father was also waiting to know what your desired college is, Chitanda added. He also wanted you to know, Oreki-san, that he will help us with some review materials. Yeah, thank you, Chitanda. No problem, Oreki-san. It's the least we can do for your help with my uncle. We arrived at the venue with about 10 minutes of walking. It was packed already with people that started to look at the stalls. AHH. What do you want to do first, Oreki-san? Let's take a stroll first. It is my first time in a festival, so I don't know what to do. AHH. Over there, Oreki-san. She pointed out at the shrine at the end of the venue. We both started to walk to the flow of the people. Gradually near the middle, the flow of people started to change. Many are now moving out of the shrine to the designated area for the fireworks viewing. Chitanda and I offered our prayers and returned back to the stalls. We bought some takoyaki and apple candy. Chitanda is sure having a lot of enjoyment. We played some stalls even though we both didn't win. I only got a consolation prize in ring throws. Here, Chitanda. I reached to her the hair clip that I won. Her eyes widened and she took it from my hand. Thank you, Oreki-san. The clip had a 4-petal flower on it that complemented her black hair after she moved her bangs a little to the right. I blush a little and then we started to proceed to the area where we can watch the fireworks. Thanks to Chitanda's father, we managed to secure a place in the VIP area. We took our seat near the trees and waited for the start of it. Has it been busy in your household, Chitanda? I broke my silence while waiting. Just we can have a little conversation. Yeah, my father is currently in talks about my succession in the business. Her voice started to trail off as if remembering something. Oreki-san. I looked at her while she is still looking down on the ground. What do you think about me getting married? I was shocked about what she is talking. I waited for her to continue on with her confession. My father is keen that I can choose to pick any course outside the sciences, that is if I will marry someone that is a business partner of his choosing. I don't want that, Oreki-san. Her tears started to fall without looking back at me. I took out one of the handkerchief in my pockets and pressed it upon her face to wipe her tears. She looked back at me surprised by my action. With her face flustered, she took the handkerchief from my hand and blew on it. She then continued on with what she is saying. That's why I will finish my studies in sciences. Oreki-san, please look at me. I looked at her slowly and saw her cheeks red. Her eyes stopped from crying and I felt my temperature starting to rise. My cheeks turned red also. Just a few moments. Oreki-san, watashi. I have always liked you, Oreki-san. From there the wind blew through our face. The lights have dimmed and the fireworks have started. We didn't bother to look at the fireworks. Our gazes are focused on each other, only waiting for the other to answer back. I moved my gaze downwards and I am sorry, Chitanda. I muttered slowly in my breath. I can hear Chitanda crying again. She is trying to hold her tears back, feeling broken by my words. She is wiping her face with her hands. She then stood up and tried to escape, but I managed to catch her hands and I stood up from my seat also. It's now or never, Houtara. Eru. I cried out to her name with my grip stronger than her force to get out. I started to well up some tears also, and then I also like you too. No, I love you, Eru, I declared in front of her. I felt my grip starting to become loose. Her face suddenly stopped crying upon hearing my words. Mine, however, hasn't stopped yet. She looked at me waiting to continue. I liked you, Eru, way back at Kamiyama. But I didn't understood it. It goes for long that these feelings of mine underswept and hidden. When we arrived here at Chiba, Hakikaya made me understood that I was wrong. I loved you since then. But I couldn't tell you about it. I was afraid of losing everything, even you. I weakly stammered my words and started to lose my balance. Chitanda caught me before I tripped and I continued on. I'm afraid that I will lose you if I confessed. I'm trying to change my life. I wanted to have a rose-colored life with you. But I'm afraid to lose you, that is why Before I could finish, Chitanda kissed me. I was surprised at first by her kiss. She broke our contact first and then she hugged me and said, Houtara-kun, please don't cry anymore. I'm still here. I will always be. I'm so glad. I've been waiting for you this whole time, Houtara. She stopped weeping, but her breaths are heavy. She put her weight on my shoulders, not letting go anytime soon. I'm sorry, Eru. I'm here now. You don't have to be sad anymore. We couldn't care more about the fireworks. We held each other in our arms and only felt our beating hearts, for this night is the summer when we confessed our love for each other. Interlude Chapter Omen. I was still awake. I kept looking at their photos. It was his birthday when they went to the mountains. I wish I could have gone with him there. I don't like this. I kept tormenting myself for not telling him. I kept saying to myself, stupid. I could have stopped him. I could have had him with me. If only I talked to him before they had met. This could have been avoided. I could have been the one for him right now. My thoughts kept stirring in this dark room. My eyes are starting to get heavy. I know I wanted to sleep. The pills I bought were no help too. I just wanted to stop myself from hurting myself. I glanced at my phone and looked at the time. It was 2 a.m. My sight started to blur. From that moment I didn't know what I have done. I messaged someone that I could use their strength so I can take him for a day. I will take him away and they will not notice it. Chapter 13 Missing. Our school lives has continued. Many students are now giddy from their excursion to the breaks. In moment that they meet each other, a lot of stories starts to unfold. My summer break ended in a high note thanks to Yukino. We have become officially a couple since my birthday. My parents are surprised when she visited our household last week. Komaki on the other hand was rather extravagant about her visit. I only managed to persuade her to have us at least a moment when I asked her give Kamakura a bath. Apparently her parents gave us their blessings and now here we are. I was on my way to the room when suddenly I was called over by someone I didn't expect to be together right now. It Chitanda that called me and besides her is. Oh. Chitanda Oreki, good morning. Good morning Hakigaya. Greeted then by Oreki much politely. I noticed that his eyes look much alive this time. Something happened to you too? I asked casually since my gut is talking to me to ask them. It is not much but. Chitanda slowed down on her words followed by Oreki. Hakigaya-san, thank you so much. I was confused by Oreki's sudden bow to me. Yeah. Your words that day made me realize of how important Chitanda is to me than my way of life. Looks like someone's youth is not as wrong as we expected. I smirked at them both and they just returned with a soft smile. I started to walk to the usual vending machine I used to buy my Max coffee. I made a light wave without looking back and a few moments later I reached my destination. I inserted some of my loose coins and pressed for the cold coffee of my choice. After grabbing my drink I noticed that I was not alone in that place. I turned around to see who it was behind me that time. I was preoccupied in my thoughts when the last bell of the day rang. Many students started to pack their things and move out of the room and I was no exception. I hurriedly moved out of the room without looking back at Oreki that is calling for me. I was contacted by Hyouka earlier that he wanted to discuss something to me after school. He is willing to let go of his soccer practice by this day just so he could talk to me, but we cannot be seen in the campus. He already dashed off to the gates where we both agreed to meet. I was taking my time to reach the gate, but even by then Hyouka is nowhere to be found. Instead it was Uegahama Yui that met me at the gate. Yukino's perspective. It was 30 minutes past when we all arrived at the club room. Only Hachiman and Uegahama is nowhere to be found. I thought he is still taking his time to buy his usual drink. The once hot tea that I set for them is now cold. I already asked Komaki-chan to look for his brother while I wait in the club room. I have no idea where those two will be going, but somehow I feel like a growing storm is coming. I looked at the spots where I think he can be found, but he is not there. Komaki opened barging in from the door. Senpai is also nowhere in the library, the room, or anywhere Chuyuni could think of. Is Heike added behind her? Where could they be? I packed my things and prepared to leave, but I was stopped by Komaki and Chitanda. Where are you going, Yuki Nashida-san? I'm going to look for him. You guys don't need to follow me. I can do it just fine. I gave them a reassuring smile, but they all insisted to look for him too. Hakigaya is not acting like himself when he went out of the room. I think he went somewhere outside the campus. Let's leave our bags here and take a look around. Oreki-san added while standing from his seat prepared to look for our missing members. We all left our bags and locked the club room. We left a note outside just in case Hachiman comes around. Heike said she will take care of the key and wait inside the campus while we all look outside the campus. Komaki went to Uegahama's house to look for her while the three of us went in the different direction. Oreki-san and Chitanda-san went to the mall while I looked for him in the sea park, the place we took a double date. I immediately asked if they saw some people wearing our school uniform. The receptionist quickly recognized Hachiman from the people that entered. They also mentioned that he is with Uegahama and already went in 20 minutes ago. I started to move to the places I went with them before. The memories of the place started to bother me this time. I was surprised to see Hachimon that time because I didn't think he will be coming like that on a whim by Yuigahama. I was asked the night before by Yuigahama to go with her to the sea park. I thought it will be a good idea so we can calm down a bit after our encounter with my sister. I went in circles looking for them. I thought they will be just around. I decided to rest near the giant Ferris wheel. It was tiresome looking around without any knowledge of where they could be. Then I remembered that I haven't informed Oraki-san and Chitanda-san that I found them here. I proceeded to mail them that instant so I can have them to look here also. After I sent the message, I continued my search near the exit. From there I heard a faint sound of what seems like two people arguing. Yuigahama, stop it now. No matter what you do, Yukino is my girlfriend now. Nothing will change that. I heard them talking. I stalked where the sound was coming. I found them behind the wall that is near the exit. I was about to call to Hachimon, but what I saw afterwards is hurtful for me to see. Yuigahama that moment kissed my boyfriend. I was surprised by her action. Even Hachimon himself could not believe it. He reflexively pushed her away, but to me the damage is done. Hachiman. I slowly muttered from my view. But it seems Hachimon heard it nonetheless. He looked towards me and he started to walk. I'm still in shock, but I ran away from that place. I was hurt to see my best friend took my boyfriend away and steal a kiss from him. I started to cry, but I kept running. I tried to get away from that horrendous place, away as far as possible. Chapter 14, Her Pain. Hachiman's perspective. I was surprised by the turn of events. Moments ago Yuigahama Yui just stole a kiss from me. My girlfriend is nowhere to be found, and now I'm running like a madman looking for where she could be right now. At the entrance I saw Oraki and Chitanda moving in, so I moved over near them and called out to both of them. Oraki. Chitanda. I managed to grab their attention and they went back towards where I stand panting. From the distance I ran from the exit to here. Have you seen Yukino around here? I asked them both, but from the reaction of their face it seems they also didn't see her. In fact, they are more surprised because Yukino is the one that called them to come over here. I thought she is already with you. She mailed us to come here 10 minutes ago. She ran away. Something happened that she supposed not to see. It was my fault. I have to fix this now. I was about to run again, but I was stopped by Chitanda. Wait a second, Hakigaya-san. Rest for a bit here. She took her phone and started to call somebody. She motioned us both to be silent while the call hasn't yet connected. After 3 rings the line finally connected. Hello Yuki Nashida-san. I was surprised that Chitanda just called her like that. I didn't even think that Yukino will pick it up. Yes. We decided to call you since we couldn't find you 3 here. Yes. Okay. I understand. She then ended the call and faced us. Yuki Nashida-san seems to be going back to the apartment. Utara-kun, you promised me that you will find Yuigahama-san, all right? Hakigaya-san and I will be going to the apartment. Yuigahama should be at the exit, Oraki. If she is no longer there, go back to the club room and tell Ishaiki about the situation. I chirped my command to him. Chitanda and I started to move towards the train station to fasten our pace to Yukino. Oraki walked on the opposite of us to the exit. Our pacing is a little slower. Probably because my legs feel heavy after the running I have done. When we have boarded the train there were some vacant seats, so I helped myself and actually snoozed off a little. I was woken up by Chitanda after 5 minutes since we have arrived at our station. We didn't waste another moment. As soon as we got off our pace got quicker. I was eager to explain everything to Yukino. We arrived at the Twin Rise apartment. In order for Yukino to not be alarmed by my presence, I asked Chitanda to sneak me through her tower and use the bridge to get to her side. We arrived at the front of her apartment's door. Chitanda knocked thrice to see if Yukino is already here. My heart at that moment feels like it is ready to stop from a heart attack. I controlled my breathing a little bit as we both waited for her. Suddenly there is a click from the door signaling that it's unlocked. Yukino opened a little bit, but since the door is only opened in one side, she didn't see me immediately. "Chitanda-san." Yukino muttered weakly as if she has been crying the whole time. I haven't seen her face yet, but I imagine that her eyes is red from all of the crying she has been doing. "Yes, Yuki Nashida-san. I'm here." Also. Chitanda slowly moved to the other side without breaking her gaze at Yukino. From her cue I moved out of the shadows and slowly saw her face. She was surprised when she saw me. That prompted her to nearly shut the door, but thank goodness I managed to slip my feet into the space between. "Oh ouch." Yukino was alarmed by my sudden wail, only then she noticed what I have done. Hakuman. "I'm sorry." She quickly slammed the door wider and I quickly reached out for my foot that is nearly crushed. Chitanda tried to comfort me from the back while Yukino dropped to her knees to help me from assessing the damage I took. What are you thinking about putting your foot like that there?" "My punishment." I irkly replied to her angry yet contemptuous tone. Punishment." She tilted her head to the side, looking confused about my words. "I hurted you, Yukino. It is my punishment for your tears." With that she put her hands to her temple as if having a headache. She helped me stand up and we entered her apartment finally. Separator. Yukino took some first aid from her room. She also made some iced tea for us. We are only silent in that room of hers. She put some bandages around my ankle and let it rest atop what seems like a makeshift foot warmer. The silence is making me and Yukino uncomfortable, but Chitanda seems to be fine by it. I made my move so that she will not be distressed by any other topics. "Yukino, I'm sorry about earlier. What you saw back there is not what you think it is. Can you explain it very clearly for me, Hachiman?" "Earlier at the school gates. What are you doing, Uegahama?" I asked her for seemingly out of place. "Hey Hiki. Can you grant me another wish of mine? You know you still haven't granted all of my wishes. If you grant me these last wishes of mine, then it's over," she nonchalantly stated while playfully smiling at me. Hyouka is nowhere to be found, and the only problem I have now is reaching to the club room about her intentions. I already contacted Komaki and Yukinon about this, so there is no problem. She quickly added after seeing my intentions to grab my phone and ask. Even with her statement I was bothered a lot, so I tried to reach for my phone. But before I can grab it, she took my arms and we quickly walked out of the school campus. Uegahama has asked me to go on a date with her today as part of our agreement before to grant all of her wishes. We went to the sea park that we went to before with Yuki Nashida. We moved around a little bit in the viewings of the sea creatures. After that we ride the giant Ferris wheel once again. Uegahama seems to be enjoying our little time together. I thought to myself that it was good sign that I was accomplishing her wishes. When we got down, it is time for us to go back. Or so I thought. "Hey Hiki." Uegahama called out to me with her smile fading slowly. She asked me to step to the side so that we will not be blocking the way when we got to the side. "Hey. Did you know why I am always so nice to you? Why I'm always hanging around you? Why did I join the club? And why am I so happy right now? It is because of you, Hiki." Uegahama stopped there, so smile at me. I can see her face about to cry from what she is saying. She is doing a good job of holding it back though. "Hiki, I've always liked you." She did it? I thought to myself while looking at the tears forming in her face. I am not oblivious to this girl's feeling. But I didn't have the same for her. I liked her to be my friend and as a club mate. That space we shared before is precious to me, so in a sense Uegahama Yui is also precious to me also. But I couldn't accept her feelings. I already am in love with Yuki Nashida Yukino. Yuigahama, I think you know that I cannot return your feelings anymore. The one I like is Yuki Nashida, not you. You are so unfair, Hiki. I was there for you first. When the accident happened, I was there for you. Her wavering voice started to caught onto her. Why? Why did you ask her like that? I didn't want these feelings of endearment anymore, but I just can't get it away from me. Why can't you like me back, Hiki? Yuigahama, stop it now. No matter what you do, Yukino is my girlfriend now. Nothing will change that. I stated to her and turned my back from her. From then she pulled me back and kissed me to the lips. I pushed her back away from me, surprised by her actions. That is when, I see, so that is what happened. Yukino, now understanding that pain of her best friend. We both didn't know what was on the heart of Yuigahama Yui. Now we know, we have come to the understanding of the pain that she carried when we started to date each other. Yukino, I'm sorry about that part. I know I should have been careful. There is no need to say sorry, Hachiman. We need to fix this with Yuigahama. Can you walk home? She smiled at me and looks like we are now back in our usual selves. Utara's perspective. So that's what happened. Yuigahama Yui is lying to me. Chapter 15, The Photos of Misery. I took the night at Yukino's place for the time being. The time needed for my ankle to heal may be short, but pushing myself according to her might just result in me pushing harder, especially I have to bike my way home. Komaki brought some change of clothes for me that night. My parents are also informed and they agreed after we both lied about the issue of my ankle. It was the first time for me to stay at someone else's place. Even if I consider the fact that we've took nights outside our house before, this is the first time for me. After all, it was I that caused all of these problems. The school days continued for us. I rode with Yukino to the school on my bike. I was pretty used in tandem riding with my sister, and Yukino is just another passenger for me. It was even laughable when Yukino was riding a bike for the first time. Apparently both sisters cannot ride a bike since their mother was strict about it. It was pretty usual. We arrived, I parked my bike at the same spot, I entered the shoe lockers to take mine and go to my room. But somehow people were looking at me in every direction. I was pretty confused about it since they all know that Yukino and I were dating. Even if Yukino is right beside me now, the way the other students look at us is pretty cold. Is there something in my face? Assuming I am with you right now, I think people are still not getting over it, huh? And no. Something's wrong. For now, let's split up and meet later at the club room for lunch. We went our separate ways. My pace in walking is much slower since I can't force my ankle that much. The gaze of the people keeps getting sharper and sharper at me. I only paid no heed to their attention and went to my room. Oreki is already in his seat. All but him turned their gaze to me, looking apathetic for some reason. I tapped the shoulder of my neighbor that is half asleep while listening to music. Is there something wrong with me today? People seems like looking at me a little bit cold. Oreki then examined the room and front to confirm my assessment. There is nothing. It is pretty weird. Hakiga-kun. The voice came from my opposite, looking at Oreki. It was Ebenahina that called my name. It was rather unusual of her to approach me like that. Then from that I had a sudden chill on my spine. You don't know why are people looking at you, right? Yeah. Do you have any idea? Please don't be mad about it. I just got it from someone else. I just felt bad about it, so She took her phone and accesses the messages. From there a single photo was mailed to her. It was me and Yuigahama yesterday when she forced herself to kiss me. I was then surprised by this. Even Oreki saw a glimpse of it, was surprised by the sudden development. My phone then vibrated with a message from Komaki. Get to the club room now, Unii-chan. I quickly took my things and paid my thanks to Ebina for showing me the picture. Oreki followed me then closely and we reached the club room in just 3 minutes. Inside was Komaki Ishaiki Chitanda and Yukino. Ani-I-chan. Komaki called out to me when I entered the room. Yukino only spouted back at all of us, we got a problem. Yesterday looks like someone got a photo of the time Yuigahama kissed me. It is now circulating in the school in a chain message. Fortunately many of the photos or chain messages doesn't go to the parents' side. I was worried that I might face the wrath of the Yuki Nashida household once the message reached their front door. Right now all of us discussed what we know, starting from my story to Yukino. Once again Yuigahama is nowhere to be found. It would be hard-pressed to say that she is the one that circulated the photos just to make us look bad, but she isn't one to be like that. Once we are done with our small discussion, we all started to return to our classroom as the classes are starting soon. Oreki and I have started to return to our room when he talked to me. Akikaya, if you don't mind, I can find the person responsible for circulating these pictures. Can you? It's not that I doubt you, but I will. This is my way of thanking you. Plus it will make sure that this issue finally rests. For the sake of you three. School was finally over, but for Oreki and I it is not. We agreed to look for the culprit of the photos. Oreki is right, so long the photo issue is not resolved we will have all sorts of problems needed to face. During lunch break we tried to reach Yuigahama to her class. Today seems a different, for she is not present today. We decided that the four of us will go to her house to check upon her. She hasn't picked up any of our calls yet, but we are optimistic that a little talk with her will straighten out some of the issues we have. We arrived at her apartment a little late than we planned. It was only 17:20, but the temperature has started to thin down. Before entering we tried one last time to call her, only to receive the same dead line. We knocked to her door a few times, feeling like there is no one present currently. When we are thinking of going back, Yuigahama opened the doors right when we are turning. Please come in. Let's talk for a moment. She weakly greeted us. It doesn't look like she is sick or anything. She might have just decided to take a day off just to lose some edge or tears. We entered her home and made ourselves comfortable in the living room just as she instructed us. She then made some iced tea for us and set some snacks to the table. My mother is not here right now. She is visiting some relatives right now. I already received the news from Yumiko. I didn't know that there was somebody else there. You didn't need to apologize for that, Yuigahama. I think I need to apologize to you. And no, Yukinon. It was me that caused the trouble. I should be the one to fix this. I need to, or else I. From there Yuigahama Yui started to show her tears. It was the first time that we saw her crying like that. She is hurt more than we imagined. We have forgotten about her when we are dating. We both are inconsiderate towards her. Now we have to console her. Yuigahama. You are not the one that is to blame for that. It should be me. I didn't consider you were that hurt. You are only a victim for the pain you have felt when you found out that we are dating and now we are a couple. We should have told you before our feelings. You are not just any other person for us, Yuigahama. For me you are someone that stuck around me when I was hurt and looking for ways to get myself back up. For me you are my best friend, Yui. Yuki Nashida added, but now she is walking towards us too. She then continued. I'm sorry that I didn't consider your feelings. I should have been more considerate for you. You know I have waited for you to come back to that room of ours. That place is the places where we stood our grounds for Hachiman. We shared that place for our friendship. It is where my first best friend and my boyfriend are. That is why Yui, I want you to tell me what you really feel. From there Yuigahama could not hold her tears back any longer. She holds me tightly in her arms, crying her heart out. The room was filled only with her voice. I did not complain about what she is doing, in fact we are grateful. I hugged her back just to comfort her. Yukino did the same and hugged her. The three of us are now in a group hug, but we didn't care. Soon Yuigahama started to voice her feelings. I'm sorry Yukinon. I'm sorry Hiki. I shouldn't have done that. I should have told you long ago. Wha? I'm sorry both of you. I'm sorry for all the troubles. We didn't bother to move away after she stopped sobbing. We just let the time to wrap around us. This moment is truly genuine for the three of us. Chapter 16 The Culprit. Utara's perspective. We have already settled down after Yuigahama's cries have been answered. We are discussing about the person that is the culprit for the photo. That is after all our objective in the long run. We started interrogating Yuigahama if she has any idea who might have been the person. As far as I know, I was surprised when the photo came up. I didn't know somebody is also there. Is Hayato involved in your plan, Yuigahama? Hakigaya asked her. Yeah, but that is only to get you to the front of the gate. After that I didn't see him, neither have I messaged him. She softly has spoken to us. I was putting together the pieces after I met her yesterday. When Chitanda and I were strolling in the mall, she asked me to find the cause of the problem. Yesterday I asked her to let me on the situation of Hakigaya and Yuki Nashida. She made a call to me and from there I heard everything from their perspective. For Yuigahama, she is very down when she is rejected by Hakigaya. She had her eyes on him since first year, hence making the phrases about her being there for him since the start. I knew she had other thing hidden, like about why Yuki Nashida-san did run out from Hakigaya. Another is why did she try to evade my questions when I met her yesterday. When I saw her, she denied at first that she is alone. The second time is that she is with friends and she is discussing something with them. I didn't press her on from that. I knew she is lying. Have you talked to him today, Yuigahama-san? No. I turned my phone off after I learned that the picture is already sent. Right now I have a suspect as to whom it may be, but to confirm it is another thing. Hakigaya, can we meet with him today? I asked the man in front of me, using his contact to gather some information. I can try calling for him. But what should be the excuse so that he will not have any arguments? Just tell him that I sent you too. I'm sure that he will cooperate with us, Yuigahama cheerfully said to us. Hakigaya made the call to Hayama and made an appointment to the park where both talked before. We'll be going then. Why can't we all go there? Chitanda pouted at us, eager to know more about who might have been the person. Eru, it will be better if there is lesser person to go so that Hayama will not be pressured. Plus he might get the wrong idea. I don't want that to slip. Rest assured that I will only interrogate him only. Nothing more. I thought to myself. And with that, Chitanda finally agreed to let us go. We are pretty silent on our exit to the building. When we made sure that the girls didn't follow us, we both started talking. What is Hayama to you, Hakigaya? He is someone that I don't consider to be a friend. He is useful at times. And anybody falls into his charismatic zone. I don't like him personally. But I don't hate him also. Is that so? So there is a possibility. We arrived at the park a little early. Assuming that the soccer club just finished their practice, Hayama should be on his way right now. When he does, he was a little out of breath, tired from their practice. Hakigaya stood to buy some drinks for the three of us, while Hakigaya is out of the hearing range. Hayama-san. Please just call me Hayato. There is no need to be formal with me. We are classmates after all. Then Hayato. Where are you yesterday after you called out to Hakigaya? I was at the soccer practice. Yesterday and today were hellish. We have an exhibition match before the cultural festival coming up. Have you heard anything about the photo of Hakigaya and Yuigahama going around? I only received the picture, but any information about who might have sent it is none. He only smiled at us, looking willing on his intent to help us. Hyouka returned to us with the drinks. He had 3 max coffee in his hands and he gave us each one of it. The shot was pretty good too. It was a blind side from where we could see any flash. Hyouka started to talk as if hearing our topic right now. I don't think much about it, but I think someone out there is trying to destroy your reputation to Yuki Nashida's family. Hyouka intervened while taking a sip of his cold coffee. Come to think of it, how are you and Chitanda-san or Eki-san? He now redirected the talk towards me. Well, we are friends from the same school. Come to think of it, she is also my former club president. Ah. Is that so? I guess some rumors only add some fact but not some answers. Is that all you need to ask of me, guys? Yeah. Thanks for your cooperation, Hayato. Sure, anytime. And with that we went separate sides of the park. Hyouka, what does Hayato thinks of you? He said about his inferiority complex to me is bothering him. Inferiority complex. I curiously looked at him. It was last year when he started to develop it. I was there doing things he couldn't have done so for others. He was amazed at me, and when there was a time that I showed my own way of doing things, he then pitied me for it. I didn't ask for his pittances. But he said that he wanted to equal to me for his own sake. From there I only remained silent. We parted ways so that Hyouka can go home and rest. I moved along my normal pacing. I reached home just in time that Anaki came back. She is now preparing dinner when she told me that I can take a bath first. I was relieving my body some stress. But I didn't forgotten Chitanda's wish to know. I pieced all of the fragments I have. Starting with the picture, for sure it would be that someone who resented Hyouka. Another is someone that cared for Yuigahama to stalk her to that place and take that picture without them knowing. If I separate these 2 entities I can have a different answer for each. Next is why. If someone out there wanted to destroy Hyouka's reputation to Yuki Nashida's family, they should have sent it to their email instead of the school body only. That means they didn't want to damage their reputations also as a conspirator of the photo. That is why sending it to the school is a better option. Next is if there is an ulterior motive for them to do so. 1. If they want to prove something or destroy someone. 2. They are planned and they wanted to obtain an answer. Someone like Yuigahama Yui would definitely have a crush on. She is a beautiful girl after all. Let's say if that person suddenly stalked her and took that photo, the photo can be used to blackmail her to date him. Yet the photo was released publicly means that person has no intention of doing so, or that they are scared to do so. I was engrossed in my thought while bathing that I was in there now for 15 minutes. Anaki suddenly entered the bathroom to check upon me if I have fallen asleep. Utara? Are you awake? I have been calling for you for the last 3 minutes. Yeah. Just thinking a little bit. Then it occurred to me. What if the person that sent the photo wanted to convey something? After going out of the bath, my objectives are finally set. I have to call Ishaiki Iroha Yuigahama Yui and Hyouka Komaki. The pieces are finally in place. Chapter 17 Utara's perspective. Let's put this scenario. What would you do if you saw your crush took away a kiss from a stranger you don't know? One might simply cry seeing that their crush had kissed someone that might possibly be just a stranger. Then how about if you know that person? The answer would be different. It was the day after I pieced the evidences I thought of. It was a tedious task, but for the sake of Hyouka and their relationships I have to do it. I was waiting for Yuigahama and Hyouka to the club room front door. I was going to talk to them before I approached the culprit later in the day. When they arrived, I didn't beat around the bush. Hyouka Yuigahama, I want you two later to be there near me when I confront the person who leaked the photos. I am confident that this person will do no harm to me, but you two will need to hear what I have to say. Very well. What time are we talking about? It was 1800 hours now. I asked Komaka yesterday about having this confrontation of ours to be part of our activities. Although I asked her, Yuki Nashida and Chitanda to stay in the club room, Yuigahama and Hakigaya are both with me so they can understand more about the reasons for the leakage of the photo. The meeting time was 18:10 as a consideration to the person. I was waiting alone in the park for a few moments. I instructed Hakigaya and Yuigahama to be at a distance place first. I made the appointment yesterday by asking the contact from Komaka. Just a few moments the person I called over arrived. He is wearing the same uniform that I am wearing right now. He had a blonde hair that is fixed neatly, wearing the usual smile on his face with one hand tucked in his pockets. It was Hayama Hayato. Yo Oreki. Good afternoon Hayama. With that I clicked the phone hidden in my pockets to reach a line of caller. Let me get straight to the point. I declared so that he will feel the pressure right now according to my plan. You are the one that leaked the photo to the campus, am I right? What are you talking about? Am I really that kind of a person to you, Oreki? He only smiled at me, fixing the mask he is wearing right now. Then let me ask you a different question. For whom was it do intend to send a message for with that photo? For Yuigahama? Or for Hakigaya? From that, Yuigahama and Hakigaya appeared in the sides, looking like we are cornering Hayama from escaping us. The face of Hayama changed to a sour one, like he is not getting away unscathed from my declaration. Of course I don't intend to let him off easily. So you figured it out, huh? Hayama only spatted with his face now looking disgusted and defeated, admitted. Let's start from the top. Yuigahama called you and asked a favor of talking to Hakigaya to meet him at the gate in the first day of the classes. You have no idea as to what Yuigahama is thinking by asking you that. So that day you stalked the two of them. But didn't Hayama say that he had practice that day? Yuigahama asking me now while looking confused. That was a lie. Although more specifically he lied about having practice that day. I called Hyouka yesterday to confirm my suspicion that you had practice that day, or at least attended practice that day. I mean, the captain and ace of the soccer club ditching practice would set a bad example for his team. So when I finally confirmed my suspicion, I called Yuigahama about people that might know her other than the club, and I was right that you are part of the group, Hayama. But even so, how come Hayama is the one that leaked the photos? What is his motivation for doing so? Yuigahama now looking at Hayama. He just returned a resenting face, gritting his teeth and making a fist with his hand. Hayama, you said that feel inferior to Hakigaya. I don't think that is just the end of that. You don't actually mean that this inferiority of yours extend to your love life. Especially to Yuigahama. There was a silence to the end of my statement. Yuigahama and Hakigaya are dumbfounded by my statement. Hayama on the other hand slowly raised his face and said, You are amazing, Oreki. For figuring that out. When you found yourself a chance to look into what Yuigahama could have done with the request she asked, you followed them around and hid where you find it easier to be. All for the sake of making sure Yuigahama will not do something stupid. So when they are talking in the sea park, you tried to take a photo of them together. But you got no opening until the kiss happened. From there you saw how Yuigahama cried and why Yuki Nashida ran away. When you got out you saw me and Chitanda together going into the park, but only paid no heed to it. That gave me the suspicion yesterday that you could have lied about it. After all, there are no rumors about the two of us going out yet. I gave a cold stare to him while he looked away at me and just gave a weak smile to Yuigahama. I shouldn't have asked about that yesterday, huh? Not only that. You felt beaten once again by Hakigaya, so naturally you wanted to take revenge to him by destroying his image. But you know that will not solve anything, so you decided to send it in the campus by trying to convey a message. That you care for Yuigahama. You wanted to approach her yesterday when she will be feeling down about it. But she never came. You might have tried to message her to find out what she is doing by then. only to receive no reply. The only sound after that is the wind passing through the front of us four. There is no change in our positions, yet Hyouka is still downtrodden, being discovered for his plot. The photo trick could have worked if you put a caption on it, but that will burn a wrong image. So you sent it anonymously, hoping that someone would have figured it out. Yuagahama Hakikaya, may I ask if you know something about who could have been Hyouka's crush? Both thinked of something and then Hakikaya gave me the answer. Back at the school trip, Hyouka said the initial is U. So in short, Oreki. Yeah. Now I fulfilled your message, Hyouka Hayato. I delivered it now to Yuagahama Yui. I now looked at Yuagahama Yui, that is starting to turn red from our conversation. She didn't expect it that the person that leaked the photo was Hyouka Hayato. Yuagahama. I know that what I did is wrong, but I have no right to be speaking about it, am I? Hyouka only took his seat on the bench while Yuagahama's tears started to well up. I motioned for Hakikaya to move away from the place, so we decided to return to the club room so we can discuss about it. Although it was supposed to be a pain, I made an alteration to my plan the last second by calling Chitanda and letting them on in our talk. I didn't know what happened to them after, so I only hope that it ended well. Hakikaya may have not said a word back then, but while we are nearing the school. Thank you, Oreki, for helping Yuagahama. The thoughts of the man caring for their loved one are truly very scary. I'm glad that we both are not like that. Chapter 18, The Days of Peace We Yearned. Hakumen's perspective. It was the second day of the cultural festival. Many things have now passed us coming to this day. First up, the issue with the photo leaked by Hyouka Hayato is now dealt with. Oreki did a wonderful job of narrowing it, albeit I was shocked to know it was him. The school campus is now all eyes with the sudden explosion of news that Hyouka and Yuagahama are supposed to be dating. All except for us know this as a rumor, but for us there is a different truth for that. After they have talked in the park, Yuagahama politely declined Hyouka's feelings, saying she needed time for her to think about it. She is shaken by the sudden news of Hyouka's confession. But it seems she is willing to be with Hyouka for some time. Hyouka is relieved that everything is sorted out. He was the one that leaked the rumors about them dating, so that our photo will be a thing of the past. And so they are hanging out sometime. Even more so if Hyouka is not busy with the cultural festival committee. As for Ishiki, she is fine with it. At first she ranted a bit, but she accepted the news with us. Yumiko Miura I thought would go on a rampage. But it seems she knew about the true feelings of Hyouka. She had no objection about it. She even went to the club room with Hyouka to confirm it with Yuagahama. Ever since then she had been the closest to that relationship. Oreki's perspective. The cultural festival is much smaller here compared to Kamiyama. One is that the school doesn't have any club-related activity like our classics club selling anthologies. 2 is that instead of 3 days it was only 2 days for them. Even though the crowds here are much wilder than usual. In order for us to have our own personal space in this time of event, Komaki allows Yuki Nashida-san to take the key so we can enter the club room. 50% of my time is spent inside this room. The 20% is for roaming alone and the remaining is with Chitanda. In just a short amount of time Chitanda and I grew closer. Anaki visited us here yesterday with some lunch for us. I introduced them to her to be acquainted for the time come when they will visit Kamiyama they could have someone to refer to. Anaki teased us before she left with a note she slipped on my lunch saying that I should tell her more about my adventures in the mirror, referring to Hakikaya. As for Chitanda, she now enjoys everyday life, as granted that we are now a couple. She has been helping me change my old gray life into her rose-colored one. It was not easy since she will eventually take all of my energy reserves, but she told me, "We will do this together, Hutara-kun. One step at a time." The memory is now emblazoned in my brain. That cute face tilting to the side, smiling with her cheeks crimson red. I was grateful for her since the summer festival. Now we are in the club room taking some lunch. This time Chitanda made my lunch and brought it over. Yuki Nashida-san also did the same. I bet on my very last energy reserves that this is plotted by the both of them. Hakikaya's perspective. Yukino brought a lunch for me. She made it since she was pestering me for the past few days. It was kind of cute that she got mad at me for dodging her attempts. She even pouted for the first time ever. After that Komaki berated me to not make Yukino-chan angry again or she will stab me with an ice pick the next time. We are now happily eating lunch in our club room since Komaki is part of the cultural festival committee. She is not here. We are grateful for her to allow us to use the room to have our own space. Here Hachiman. Yukino with a chopstick was asking me to take her food that she spoon-feeding to me. God, it was so embarrassing that I think that I should have just declined Komaki's suggestion for the club room. What am I, a kinder? I can eat by my dash. Are you saying something, Hakikaya-kun? Yukino with her ice queen aura made me shudder for my life. Then I just took notice on my side. I can do it, Eru. Oreki seems having himself the same dilemma. Chitanda is offering some food to spoon-feed Oreki also. She just pouted now to Oreki. With that we both looked at each other and giggled only. We then took the food that our girlfriends spoon-feeding for us. The girls then looked at each other and giggled softly. Hakikaya and Hutara at the same time. This moment is so genuine that our youth is not as wrong as we expected mysteriously.
Alright, alright, alright. That was one of the bizarre stories I've ever heard from the fan fiction. My goodness, man, that took a while. I want to say thank you to that writer for making this actually happen, because I will never been able to make this story come to presented like this. It took me at least about a day to edit, so you gotta thank me also for that, to edit the whole thing into one conflict, including putting the music with it also as well. I'll also thank Microsoft's Narrator app, because without the Microsoft it will never make this possible, thanks to its setting that you can adjust it so it won't sound like a robot, more like an actual human being, similar machine. So I was able to get that up and running. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, you don't want to miss content, and I'll look at this ratings to see how the results will come if I were to continue to do more fan fiction stuff like this. But I pretty hope that this goes out to every single buddy who likes anime and who likes these TV shows from the anime community, to share this, give a thumbs up if they like this, and support this, because they really, really need to hear this. It's one of the best I ever heard, and still is a good one that continues off from season 3 of My Comedy Use Romance, if you haven't seen that one. So thank you again so much, and bye bye.